There exists a world very much like our Earth, known as the world of trophies, where without warning, statues of heroes from different worlds come to life and battle one another. The supreme ruler of this world is Master Hand, a sentient, floating hamburger helper mascot that is probably also a manifestation of some dumb-gloved 8-year-old in our human dimension. These assorted sentient action figures called Smashers know nothing but fighting, though they seem able to retain some memories of allegiances and rivalries with fellow Smashers. To become a statue again is death, the coldest death of all. The Smashers are brought into existence for countless quick skirmishes and kerfuffles, but there are times when the world of trophies is in danger, such as when the Master Hand went mad, when the Bowser Trophy was corrupted and transformed into the terrifying Giga Bowser, or when the dark form known as Taboo tried to bring the world into a subspace dimension. With every threat that arises, a large roster of heroes and villains will rise to the occasion. Except for Mewtwo. Mewtwo is never coming back.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that tried out Pamela Isley brand fertilizer and are now growing 30-pound potatoes. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. You can follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums at amazon.com. The clip you heard at the very beginning of the show was by Lore regarding the Super Smash Brothers. You can find their channel under Lore on youtube.com. How's everybody?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Tired.
I'm starting to hit that period of instability. Most of the shows I watched since the beginning of the year are about to go on season or mid-season hiatus.
Yeah, I'm just...
Most of mine have just come back.
I mean, I know Grimm just came back last week. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has come back with like 2 episodes that goddamn near burned the house down.
Yeah.
Even though nobody's watching them.
I know, this is fucking astonishing.
They're great.
I've heard a couple of people mention online, and I'm going to pay attention to this, is that last time there was a major movie that came out, S.H.I.E.L.D. had a tie-in to it. So I'm kind of curious, what do you think the fallout for S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be from the Age of Ultron?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering where they're going with the current arc right now with the real S.H.I.E.L.D. and so forth. I'm wondering if that's going to tie into it.
Which is funny, because I totally thought that was actually what they were doing. It's like I thought that they might have been aligned to another splinter faction of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, I don't know if this is a splinter faction or not. It's just when Max said they work for the real S.H.I.E.L.D., my first thought is, does that mean his Twitter is therealshield.com? You know, it has been a week of frustration. Destiny is doing their Iron Banner events, which is PvP with no restrictions on it. Whatever gear you're carrying, that's exactly the attributes it carries. And it brings out 2 types of people. It brings out a bunch of really enthusiastic players and a bunch of fun-loving people. Then it brings out the dicks who definitely don't have much of a life outside of their video game consoles.
Yeah.
Which one do you follow?
I'm a hobbyist. I do it to have fun. Every once in a while I get on a fire team that's kind of chatty and they're interesting individuals. But I tend to run into the guys who will teabag me just because I'm not on their quote-unquote level. You know, I'm not a real gamer, as they would put it.
I think people just teabag because they can.
I don't know. You know, it always seems to end the same way. After that, I track him down, golden gun up his ass, and pull the trigger. You know, I get a little vindictive when people turn into asshats.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been okay. I'm gearing up for a trip next weekend to see my family. I have tickets to an event that weekend. I asked my wife, you know, should we save money and sell these? She said, no, do not sell them.
I am sorry to hear that one of them's feeling sick.
Yeah, unfortunately, my youngest, he's going to be 3 this August, and he came down with a combination of croup and a double ear infection.
Oh,
I saw that on
miserable.
Facebook. Oh.
That was the odd thing, was he was miserable because of the croup. He just kind of would sit there and he wouldn't get upset unless somebody tried to move him, which is a little unusual for croup, which is a respiratory infection. So they took him back to the doctor to check him out. It turns out the croup was okay as it could be, but he had a double ear infection on top of it, and he completely threw everybody he's living with because he wouldn't prod at his ears. Most kids, when they have ear infections, they kind of poke at their ears a lot, stick their fingers in there. He wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting there.
He was
and he got upset when people tried to move him.
I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. It hurts less.
What the fuck are you people doing to me? Stop moving me!
Pretty much. So now he's on medications and everything. I'm going to go take some stuff to him. It sounds like he's doing better, but I just got to see him.
Yeah.
You know, it is a thing. This week we're going to talk about a 1992 series called Gen-13. We're going to check out their mini that started a comic book and quasi-cultural revolution in the 90s, but we'll get into that later on. First off, we'll get through our Kickstarter corner. First off, well, actually, the first Kickstarter we were going to talk about again was Cyborg Penguins, but I don't have to talk about that because 2 days ago they canceled their Kickstarter.
Really?
Aww.
Really?
Yeah, they ended at 22 backers, goal of $5,000. They accrued $565 before they canceled it.
Yeah, it sounds like not necessarily lack of interest, but lack of promotion.
Quite possibly. I mean, I know they approached us to mention this in the Kickstarter, or to mention the Kickstarter specifically, and we took a look through it. The designs are so-so. You know, it's an interesting idea that could be fleshed out.
Mm.
And for those of you that say Cyborg Penguin sounds like an awful idea, how many people do you think in the 80s sat down and said, what the fuck is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Yeah.
Microwaves
Seriously.
from Mars? Street Sharks? We could go on.
SWAT cats.
I love that show.
It doesn't
Well,
change the fact that it's a little weird.
Yeah.
The point, though, is you have no idea what's going to take off as a phenomenon. No clue.
Yep.
Sometimes you just got to check it out and see if it works. We do have the Indiegogo, though, for Con Man that is still active. If you recall, Con Man is going to be a new series. It's going to be starring Alan Tudyk and holy fuck, I forgot his name. Nathan Fillion.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh my, that was a strange blank there. Nathan Fillion. It's going to be a series about a man who makes his living as a former sci-fi star who goes around to conventions to augment his income. The Indiegogo has 19 days left. It actually ends on April 10th. I'm thinking about putting money down on this just for the sake of, you know, I like the people involved. However, they don't really need my money because they currently have 32,957 backers. The goal to start production was $425,000. Currently sits at $2,298,435.
Almost 2.5 mil.
Yeah, that's their last stretch goal, too. At 2.5 mil, they'll do their first Spectrum novel written by PJ and Alan. Free ebook to all funders, and they begin development on Con Man Season 2. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, and they still have over half of the Indiegogo to get that last $200,000. I would not bet against them at this point.
Nope.
We also have a Kickstarter that ended, unfortunately. Rift Tracks Live 2015 for The Room, Miami Connection, and Sharknado 2. The Kickstarter was by the men behind Rift Tracks, who, if you don't know, was from the second generation of Mystery Science Theater 3000. They played Mike and the Robots. They do MP3 files that you can play with movies, so you can get the usual comedic commentary. This Kickstarter was to fund 4 projects, 4 live Rift Tracks that would be transmitted over the event streamers to movie houses. On May 6th, they'll do The Room. On July 9th, they'll do Sharknado 2. On October 1st, they'll do The Miami Connection. And on December 3rd, they'll do Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny.
That last one, every single time, I'm like...
You should see the picture associated with this. It's definitely some guy in like a mascot-style bunny outfit and it has one lazy eye. You almost expect it to go Five Nights on Freddy's at you.
Yeah.
But the Indiegogo ended yesterday, which was the 21st of March. It ended with 3,842 backers. The goal to do this was $75,000. It ended at $250,303.
Excellent.
They hit all of their stretch goals. So any backer who gave them $75 or more will get a free downloadable and stream VOD product of the Sharknado 2 live show. Congratulations to them. They show that funny is still funny. The last Kickstarter I have is by Dwarven Forge. It is the Dwarven Forge's City Builder Terrain System. It's a series of kits and pieces so you can build a miniature Dwarven city for your D&D miniatures.
Huh.
It has tower battlements, wall foundations, floor pieces, stairs, roof pieces, sewers even. Looks like you can make this a multi-tiered item. It is being done by Dwarven Forge of dwarvenforge.com. It has 11 days to go and ends on Thursday, April 2nd. So this will be done after we get back. It has 1,975 backers. The goal to get this started is $100,000. Currently sits at $1,241,966.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
indeed.
Apparently a lot of people raided the Dwarven Mines and started trading gems to fund this little project. They've hit most of their stretch goals. They still have 2 pending stretch goals. One is just $10,000 away at $1.25 million. They'll do paid add-ons of building add-on packs, and then at $1.3 million, you get a free ladder.
A what now?
Wow, that doesn't sound so special when I said that out loud.
Yeah, ladder.
It's like prior, you get free floor pieces with stairwells, you get free stairs, you get free stone streets, you get free corner posts, free roofs, and then the last stretch goal is free ladder.
I think they ran out of ideas.
I guess so. They will be. These pieces can all be connected by magnets, so it sounds like you won't have to plug them together or ruin any fittings.
Oh,
They'll
nice.
just be able to lock in together. So it's a modern take on an idea. It's nothing horrible about it that I can figure out. Oh, I'm sorry. The corner posts are actually groove pieces, so that you can slide walls into them. Decent group of ideas. The addition of the sewer is a good idea, though.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely adds a bit of an element for those people who lack utter imagination when they're playing fucking D&D. From there, we'll move into video game news. Man, video game news has been dominated by one game, and to me, it is a crime, but at the same time, people like the game, so I will talk about it freely. That's Mortal Kombat X.
Mm.
First of all, for Mortal Kombat X, they've announced a new ality, a new finisher for the game. Okay? I could give you the video, but it would kind of bury the lead. Or do you want it?
Whatever.
I'll tell you what, we'll skip it for now and we'll go with description. The new finisher is called a quitality.
Eh?
You just walk away.
You know when people get upset when they're playing online games, the first thing they do is they typically quit or they unplug the network so that they either save their stats or it just screws up the game, and all kinds of reasons why people do this. Unfortunately, it mostly comes down to don't want to lose. Warner Brothers Interactive had the bright idea to add the quitality. What happens is if the player decides to quit mid-game, instead of your avatar just standing there, whatever it's doing, its head will suddenly explode and fall over dead.
Nice.
The remaining player automatically wins and earns a quitality.
What happens if there's just a network malfunction?
Yeah, I was just about
I
to
think
ask
that would also fall under quitality.
Some people are going to get really pissed about that.
Oh, well.
You know what? At the same time, though, it's probably a necessary move. There's so many people that try and game the system by doing selective disconnects just so they can save stats.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, I see the consequences already.
Yeah, I appreciate them erring on the side of caution, though. This is a decent idea. I know I'd be entertained kicking somebody's ass, and then I hit them so hard their head explodes, But there was a new video released of 4 new characters they just announced in I don't know if it's Day 1 DLC, but it's definitively DLC. That I will send to you, because it threw me a little bit as to who was added here. There it is. Oh, by the way, Jesse won't be able to see this. It's rated mature.
Oh, okay.
Nope, I can see
That's
it.
Jason.
I can see
That's
it.
Jason, yes. That's Jason Voorhees. The second character is Tanya. Never heard of her.
No.
The third character is Tremor, who looks like another one of the ninja clones.
Uh-huh. The fourth one,
then there's
yep,
number
I
4.
thought so.
Predator?
Interesting.
The Predator, yes.
I
The
don't
Predator kind
even...
of fits. It does.
I'm not that familiar with Mortal Kombat, so it seems strange to me, but...
Basically, it's a fighting tournament where you're protecting reality against these guys trying to invade and wipe out our existence. So the Predator coming in to challenge the strongest, it makes sense from that standpoint.
Okay.
And besides, the list of abilities we know the Predator can do is distributed about maybe half the fighting cast of Mortal Kombat anyways.
I just want to know if that means he's going to take his self-destruct device and strap it to somebody's head. But
oh, that could be his quitality.
The thing is, though, if you're looking for a reason behind all this, V, don't. If there's one thing Mortal Kombat is good at, it's eschewing all ideas of what story is. Story will not really happen in this game. If you play it, you're in it for the fighting and for the delectable violence.
Fair. Well, there's not that much well, there is story in Soul Calibur. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, the characters of Tanya and Tremor were apparently in prior Mortal Kombat games, although Tanya only appeared by cameo. This will be her first chance as a playable game.
It looks like she might be somewhat related to the that Indian character. I can't remember his name.
I have no freaking clue whatsoever, man. I have not followed Mortal Kombat with any interest in almost
decades.
Over a decade, yeah. I was going to say years, but then it occurred to me, no, decades is actually the right word. But I have another video from another game franchise I am interested in, mildly. However, this blew my fucking mind.
Okay.
Now, I'm a fan of the Final Fantasy franchise. They've recently announced this week that one of the confirmed summons for Final Fantasy 15 is Ramuh.
Who?
Who is a character that's been a summon several times before. However, the words that were passed around as the story came out was cinematic quality summon. And I've been at this long enough that when you hear cinematic quality, that's a sliding scale. That's all very subjective.
Yeah.
I played the video for myself. I needed to clean my underwear.
Show us, damn it.
What word am I waiting for?
Please.
Thank you.
Now?
Damn it. Hey, fuck you, I'm kicking you from the call. Yeah, I sent it.
Oh, that guy. Ah, ad.
Ad again?
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
nice.
Oh, there it is. Come on.
You can't there, I mean, Jesus. Doesn't look like much of an imposing figure, but then you see the wand in his hand.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, he's a little tall. Oh, wow.
Look at the destruction.
Well, they call it Judgment Day for a reason.
Yeah, but the thing is, even when he drops you back off... Yeah, look when he drops you back off, though. That staff is still sticking out of the ground for a few seconds.
Yeah. And the guy's sitting there punched over like, holy fuck, man.
So you mean to tell me that came out of your ass, huh?
Nice.
That's a very impressive piece of video, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Honestly, 15 has me curious. I haven't been very curious for some of the latest ones, but...
Well, this one will release on the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Next up, have you heard of a new PC horror game called 1214?
Called what?
What?
1214.
No.
1214.
No.
It's a new game. It's in pre-alpha, and so far it shows images of you wandering around what looks to be an apartment building or something, and it's a little creepy. The creepy part isn't necessarily that there's another survival horror game. Those are starting to become a little commonplace. The creepy part is it's a combination PC and mobile game that affects your phone.
Huh.
I have a YouTube.
I'm
That-
interested.
It kind of reminds me of a manga.
Well, no, it affects multiple devices at once. You can use both your phone and PC in concert when you use this game, according to the concept. I sent the video. I like how it starts out with a disclaimer that says, to have a better experience, the use of headphones is recommended. Like, we want to actually feel something breathing over the back of your neck. Thank you. Looks like it's by Vietrux Games. I wonder what country he's from. His his English has this Slavic accent to it.
Okay, let's go to university again.
Now, as you can see, in the lower left corner, that's supposed to represent your actual mobile phone as you use the game.
Oh, your phone in the game.
No, your actual mobile phone.
Your real phone.
Your real-life phone that you hold in your hand. This thing works with your phone as you play the game.
Huh.
I mean, he seems to start off pretty... It's never a good thing that the spooky music starts when the elevator door opens.
Elevators already terrify me.
Welcome to Comic-Con.
Mildly terrifying.
Okay.
Is
Is there something weird going on with that phone? It almost looks like there's red creeping in there somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like a bloody mark on the wall or something.
Okay, so it's not just me. It wasn't there a minute ago?
No, it was, but it's getting clearer and clearer.
Good eye.
The flickering lights.
Seizure.
No, he's just saying no, not here, not here, not here. Maybe it's powered by Pikachus.
Oh, can you imagine this with an Oculus system?
Oh, dude, I would not sleep. Wouldn't that be worse than an Oculus system, though? Instead of messing with your phone, every once in a while your Oculus just clicks on. Put me on.
So, doorknobs in the middle of the door.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I've seen that before, though.
I've seen that in some Eastern European countries.
Happy birthday,
Sweetie.
Who spells sweetie with a Y?
Tweety Bird? He's doing pretty good at setting a scene for alpha footage.
Right?
Yeah, everybody sits in their apartment with all the lights off except in the bedroom.
Well, I'm just curious because he got up, and now he's back in a room. What?
Looks like he's in someone else's.
I'm kind of waiting for that jump scare to happen.
It's coming.
Something's going to happen. I hope it's not a jump scare. I hope it's better than that.
I have viewed the last minute of the footage to see what the payoff was supposed to be, and...
Don't say anything.
Sorry, I was going to say something.
Red, his phone just freaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice that now? Apparently, when you play the game, your phone will start glitching out like this.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Something under the bed.
Lights out.
Whoa.
And the lamp obviously is not working.
And the phone is loading.
It's buffering.
Come on. Turn.
That screen wasn't like that before. There you go. Turns on the flashlight. Look at the game phone.
Ooh.
Nice.
Happy birthday, sweetie. What did it say?
I'm not sure.
Call
Something
me.
about it will be fun. And that's the end of the trailer.
Call me, it's gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's an interesting concept to be able to use two devices in concert like that. It would freak you.
I wonder if your phone actually... I think it looks like your phone is actually going to get a call.
It may, and there's also information that says that your phone will actually get some additional information from the game as you're not playing, as you go through your normal day.
Wow.
According to the developer, quote, 1214 is a psychological horror video game where your own cell phone is your worst enemy. With your phone being the indispensable requirement to enjoy this adventure, we can offer new forms of gaming never before seen thanks to the numerous possibilities that smartphones can offer. So that the development of new puzzles using the vibration of the phone, strange calls, the possibilities are almost endless. Plus, although you aren't playing on your PC, that doesn't mean the game can't keep playing with you, unquote.
Well, then I need to get a smartphone then.
Yes.
Yeah, but that means the game will continue even though you're not at your system because it has access to your phone. It's a nifty idea. Moving on from there, Square Enix has announced they've teased that there's going to be a new JRPG for home consoles in the near future, but hasn't announced a single detail about it. In an interview with Nikkei Trendy, which is a Japanese financial site, Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda hinted at a surprise coming for the next year. Quote, for fiscal 2015, I think we have a considerable amount of high-end games both inside and outside of the country. Starting with Final Fantasy 15, we'll be putting out news for Japanese RPGs. I think we'll have a little surprise too, unquote. They pressed him for a little more information, and he said the surprise would be a, quote, JRPG for home game machines, unquote. So something appears to be coming. The only question is, are we getting something original or a rehashed sequel? If it's Final Fantasy VII, there's going to be people committing suicide. A little bit of news from our old friends at City of Titans.
Oh?
They've released a new video that's under 2 minutes in regards to a post that they called, quote, how a tree can make all the difference, map optimization, unquote.
Oh, I saw that. Didn't actually read it, but...
Basically, they were playing around with the graphics engine. As you know, they're using the Unreal Engine to craft City of Titans.
Right.
And they showed what appears to be very likely the beginning zones in the game as they're building the maps. They added a bunch of trees and it slowed it down. Then they took out the trees and found out that it was running much more smoothly. Then they added in modified trees, and they finally got their optimized view for both graphics and playability. Do you want the video? Or?
Yeah, actually, sure.
You guys are as curious about this as I am. I paid into this.
Yeah, well, I haven't yet, but I'm definitely considering getting it when it comes out.
There it is. Our old friends at Missing Worlds Media. I wonder how Warcabit's doing. We haven't heard from him in a while. According to their timeline, shouldn't they be getting ready to release this game in the latter half of summer?
Yeah, supposedly.
Okay, it starts out with a blue figure who's definitely the frame figure. And you see how it's jumping?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a very clean look.
No.
I started to wonder if this was some kind of marketing campaign, just showing little bits. So as you can see, it's running much better, and when he takes a flying leap off that building again, no trees!
Well, foliage has always been the thing that really bogs machines down, so that's really not...
Well, foliage and water.
Oh yeah, we'll take another look now that they've, quote, optimized it.
Not as good as before, but definitely a lot better than the first time.
No, it's actually pretty good. It's running smoothly, and the thing is, if you watch the video as he runs around, there's some densely forested or wooded areas of the city.
Which is nice, because trees are awesome.
Yeah, they make stuff for us. No, the detail in the buildings are coming along rather nicely, though.
Yeah.
And they're actually
Oh no,
to
I'm
scale.
very impressed with the...
I hope it's not going to be this bright.
Well, it is daytime.
Well, I'm pretty sure the stars won't be this bright. Everything else might be.
Well, V's gonna play a villain and ruin the world anyway, so she'll take care of that.
Hey, I had one hero, 2 heroes.
Okay, we'll see you on the dark side of the moon then.
Yeah, I had heroes. I never played them, but I had them.
Jesse, we'll never see her on the dark side of the moon. Remember, she plans to blow it up. Okay. Anybody here follow Twitch at all?
No.
Not really.
I'm aware of it.
I'm just getting into it myself, and there's, like I said, in about 3 weeks, we're going to have somebody who is a Twitch streamer come on the show and just talk to us about video games and a few other things. But there's been a video that's actually gotten a lot of viral views. It's had over 400,000 views within a matter of days. It's by a League of Legends streamer called Sky Williams, and the title is Dear Female Streamers.
Oh, I heard about this.
Now, I haven't played the video myself, but I've gone through some reading to find out what is going on. There is a bit of a controversy going on because, as Sky Williams puts out there, and apparently has a bunch of people agreeing with him, he doesn't think that female streamers should be showing so much skin. When I delved into what they meant by skin, apparently people on Twitch, there are rules regarding how you're allowed to dress as you stream, and some girls are wearing tank tops. Some are not. Some just are. The crux of the video is that he doesn't think that sexuality should be a selling point for a Twitch stream, and he thinks it... well, let me just read a quote that was put up on Kotaku. Quote, "You're benefiting yourself at the cost of condemning your own gender. If another female streaming playing in a non-provocative attire with her attention on the game, she will be subject to the same torment that you get when you just flaunt your body. You are creating a standard for the female streamers that want to continue." Unquote. Isn't that kind of an oxymoron?
I kind of see their point, but...
I do, but at the same time, I think you should be able to, if it's needlessly sexy, they're running around in their bra or something like that, then okay. But a tank top should be perfectly okay attire. I mean, it's whatever you want to game in. I personally play without a shirt on.
See, that's my thing. Is I don't think he actually has
anything. So
I don't think he actually has a valid point. I mean, I'm married, and my wife, when she sits around relaxing, she's playing video games. She's wearing a tank top, and I don't mean like an undershirt. I mean just a female tank top. They sell them in fucking stores.
Yeah.
I like wearing a tank top. Well, that admittedly shows rather a lot of my boobs, but
I mean, to me, I would be more upset if somebody got dressed up in like horror makeup for a stream, because then that would be somebody that's putting on airs.
Yeah.
If they had just like a tank top, glasses, and their hair pulled in a ponytail, what that says to me is she got up and she decided to share a stream. Not that she got done up, or not that it's a plan to make money. She just said, maybe they'll want to see this. Click.
Well, it will be an interesting one to bring up if we get that female streamer.
I do plan to ask her about this. This guy, Sky Williams, also implied that skin-showing women streamers are partially responsible for continued online harassment of women, claiming that their behavior encourages people to keep saying stuff like "show your boobs" to any women streamers they might come across.
No,
Time the fuck out.
That's not happening anyway.
Those guys are assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's systemic of dickery, not what a girl's dressed as.
Yeah.
He said, quote, "The women who don't do this get made fun of, get called names. It makes them not want to stream, and that sucks," unquote. You know what? That doesn't have anything to do with the ones that are dressed in tank tops. That's just dicks on streams. If they're badgering women who aren't dressed in tank tops to show their boobs, that's a whole other problem that doesn't have to do with how women are dressed. That has to do with how men treat women.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
No argument here.
The fuck? It's like going back to slut shaming. If you keep dressing like that, you're just going to demean everybody. No, what's fucking demeaning is you're shaming somebody who has a little bit of body confidence for the sake of everybody else who doesn't.
I've always been a fan of if you've got it, flaunt it.
I absolutely think that. And again, if it offends you, you have the right to walk on by and keep your mouth fucking shut.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, people are stupid sometimes. And he had over 400,000 views, and a lot of people like jumping on his bandwagon. I tell you what, I'd like to slash his fucking tires on that bandwagon. I just think it's ridiculous.
No argument here.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to step off my soapbox. Nintendo has announced they have a new console coming.
Really?
What about that? The NX.
Yes, they've codenamed it the NX. No word on if that's an official title or even what this is. But the Nintendo chief executive, Satoru Iwata, said that the hardware project represents a brand new concept, but then did not elaborate any further.
Well, that seems to be the way they've been going lately. I mean, first they came out with the gaming nunchuck thingies, and they've pretty much tried to change up the controllers a lot, and they keep going for next-gen stuff, so I don't know. I think the only thing they haven't done yet is the motion capture like the PlayStation and Xbox have done now.
Yes, they have.
Well, that's because they haven't attached a camera to any of their systems like the others have thus far.
Right.
I don't quite know what to say about this because Nintendo's gimmickiness has been kind of hit or miss. The Wii worked very well for them. Never owned one myself because I just don't find the games appealing. They don't have enough third-party stuff that I consider good.
Yeah.
The Wii U was basically a Wii with a tablet attached to it. That didn't go over so well.
Yeah. But honestly, if they get a really good gimmick, then it could definitely help them out.
Well,
the other question I have though is this a game? Is this a home gaming console or is this another handheld console? Because Nintendo is very strong when it comes to handhelds.
Yeah, that's the big question. That's for gimmickiness. They're trying to, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but they're trying to progress the What's the word I'm looking for?
I think they're trying to get ahead of the curve. They're trying to find the next great technology that isn't hyper expensive. I just don't know if this is the smart way to go about it. I mean, they're definitely bucking the trend. PlayStation is looking into VR at the same time Oculus is, and it seems like the Oculus is highly compatible with the Xbox for reasons I don't quite understand, probably because it's Microsoft operating systems. But instead of going that direction, they seem to be going more for controller differences in control styles, which is nifty and everything, but it only gets you so far. The Wii is a good example of that. It was a brand new controller scheme. Fucking brilliant. Really is. I've never bought one, but I'll admit, it's a great control scheme. The problem is, it didn't make people want to buy the next system automatically.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'll be interested to see where it goes. The last bit of video game news I have is one that will kind of affect Steve and me more than anybody else. The actor that's played Mike Coulter, he's the one that starred in the Halo Nightfall series.
Okay.
He has actually said that his character, Agent Locke, is the other Spartan on the cover of Halo 5 Guardians.
Okay. Because they had the female one, but he's the other male.
No, actually, there's two males on the cover of Halo 5. There's the inverted one, which is the obvious one, the Green Master Chief that everybody recognizes. The one on top, nobody was quite sure about. It seems to be a Spartan in silver armor. It looked like an evil version of one of the Forerunners. Turns out that's Mike Coulter as Agent Locke. That's his Spartan. But he also said something else that got tongues a-waggling and a lot of people think. He said, quote, "When he goes into Halo 5, you'll see him transition into a Spartan, a super soldier. It's a prominent role within the game. Obviously, Master Chief will be involved, Cortana, but Locke will be one of the playable characters in Halo 5, unquote.
I'm really kind of curious about this game.
Did you catch the word in there, though, that didn't quite fit according to what people know?
One of the playable characters?
No.
No?
Obviously, Master Chief will be involved, Cortana, but Locke will be one of the playable characters in Halo 5.
Right, Cortana's back.
Right. The character is actually in it. So, unfortunately, I think he let loose a little something he probably shouldn't have at that point.
It's possible.
I mean, if you follow the games at all, it's as obvious as day the character is coming back, but now you've got it official before the game or even comes out. Oh well. V, are you okay? You're very silent.
I just don't...
I think she's
really
just
know what to add.
disinterested.
That's nothing disinterested. I just haven't been interested yet.
All right. Well, how about this? We'll move into Marvel media news. We'll talk about the Marvel projects that don't fit on comic book pages. First off, May Day is coming.
Yep.
May 1st, 2015, the debut of Age of Ultron in the U.S.
Yay!
Although the fucking Australians get an entire week prior, so if you don't want spoilers, stay off the internet for a fucking week.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, not for us, no. First of all, they've announced Danny Elfman's role. His name appeared in the posters, but nobody was quite sure what he was doing. It turns out Danny Elfman was hired to remix the Avengers theme music for the Age of Ultron film.
Huh.
He said, quote, "I was doing the same thing actually just last week because I've contributed music to the new Avengers movie. I took part of Alan Silvestri's theme on the original movie, which I really liked, and pulled it into a new theme, which became kind of a hybrid. I really enjoyed that," unquote. Thank God he's not writing the whole thing. I find his composing a little annoying.
It's hit or miss for me.
Yeah. Also, as far as the Age of Ultron go, during a Disney's recent shareholder meeting, they actually played an entire scene for the shareholders. It had to do with the fight between Iron Man and the Hulk, and somebody actually put down an entire text synopsis of what occurred.
Okay.
Nice.
Not the entirety of the fight, but it sounds like about halfway through, and this sounds very groovy. Shall I?
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, for those of you that hate spoilers, don't care. Quote, "The scene opens with an armored police vehicle arriving on the scene. An incredibly angry and destructive Hulk is witnessed tearing up the streets, destroying cars and spreading all-out panic. Police, heavily armed with machine guns, open fire on the Hulk to no avail. In the distance comes Iron Man, flying at super speed to the scene. Hold your fire," he commands to the responding teams below. He is flanked by large metal objects that speed along through the air with him, keeping up every step of the way. We cut back to the menacing Hulk, and all of a sudden, a large steel surfboard-shaped object slams itself down in the pavement in front of him. Then another, and another. Before you know it, Hulk is trapped inside a giant, solid metallic box. At least that is until Hulk smashes free and then continues his rampage. And then it assembles, piece by piece, the Hulkbuster, almost in Mark 42 fashion. The witch is messing with your brain, Stark tells the Hulk. You're smarter than her. You're Bruce Banner. This yields an even angrier response from the Hulk, and it's on. Hulkbuster versus Hulk. The Hulkbuster usually seems to have the upper hand as they drag each other through the streets, tearing up the pavement. At least until Hulk ends up on the Hulkbuster's back, impaling the shoulder with a traffic light pole. Dick move, Banner, responds Stark as they continue to fight. Then the damaged pieces of the Hulkbuster fall off and are quickly replaced with new parts. Different parts. And now Hulkbuster is a top Hulk. Stark treating Hulk's head as a punching bag, literally pounding Hulk's head into the pavement over and over and over, much to the amusement of the audience. Sleep! Go to sleep, pants Stark. But spoiler alert, it doesn't work. Then, one of the replaced parts of the Hulkbuster, the arm missing a hand, wraps itself around Hulk's arm and sucked him in, and Iron Man takes flight, toting Hulk by the arm. Unquote.
Well, now we know why
that's going to be
Hulk
pretty
is fighting.
intense.
It sounds like it's going to be a knockdown drag-out.
No, I
I
shouldn't
think
expect
that's the
anything
first time
left
that
between
the
Hulk and the
Hulkbuster will
Hulkbuster.
actually come out on top of the Hulk.
We'll see how temporary it is. There's new rumors floating around regarding Civil War that says that the Hulk, Iron Man, and Thor, by the end of it, will all be unavailable by the time of Avengers Infinity War starts.
Right.
So 3 major power players will not be involved, according to the rumor, at least, in the third version of the Avengers movie.
No, the rumor I heard is that there's a possibility one of the
Characters is going to die.
That's also a rumor going around, and it's narrowed down to Quicksilver, according to most people.
Really? I mean, they're just introducing
I
it.
was kind of...
Yeah, they say they've narrowed it down to Quicksilver, because Thor, if he's going to die, is probably going to occur in Ragnarok.
Right.
Yeah.
Captain America and Iron Man have to make it through Civil War. Black Widow's already been confirmed for Cap 3 herself, so has Hawkeye. Unfortunately, when you narrow it down, that means that the only character really unaccounted for in the entirety of it is Quicksilver.
Or the Hulk.
The Hulk, I have a feeling, is not going to die.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be made unavailable because Disney really seems to be working hard trying to find out how to make the Hulk an independent movie. Mark Ruffalo also has 4 movies left on his deal. After Age of Ultron, he still has 4 movies, and he hasn't been announced for anything. So I doubt it's going to be the Hulk. That really narrow. And the Scarlet Witch has also been confirmed as taking Cap's side in Civil War. That leaves just one character unaccounted for, unfortunately. Unless you count the Vision. So, there you go. There's also the last TV spot has been released for Age of Ultron. Have you guys seen it?
Yes.
About a minute long.
Yes.
Who needs to see it?
I would like to see it.
Sorry, give me 1 sec here.
1.
Okay, I hope he appreciates I hung up on him. Hold on. Let me see if Dude, what happened?
I don't know.
They shouldn't have clicked that little red button under your name for being a jerk. Alright, there's the link.
All set up, boss.
Looks like a new Quinn did, at least.
I just pay for everything.
Oh, damn it.
Design everything. Make everyone look cooler.
It's interesting that Captain America is the de facto guy running things, according to Stark, right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Cap's leadership that leads to Stark thinking he can do better.
What if it's Nick Fury?
I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if Samuel Jackson's going to be around after this film.
That's why I'm saying he could be the one that dies, not Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be. Oh wait, maybe it could be Phil Coulson.
Again?
If you step out that door,
I like the hammer shot on the shield. That was nifty.
That's
Better
everyone's
not
I've already
before,
seen
is
a
all I'm
gif
saying.
of that.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming?
all right. It's time for some fun.
I do have a question, though. Do you think Civil War will include any of the Defenders coming up soon? The question, and I can't say for sure whether it would or wouldn't, but half the Defenders will be out well before Cap 3. I do have a new motion poster as well regarding the Daredevil series. Motion posters are kind of becoming a thing lately. They're just like 30-second spots that show off a single scene, and think of it like a short online ad. There it is.
This city's really changing. Not fast enough.
Seems to include quotes by a lot of different characters.
Reborn.
And it does seem like a lot of the characters from the TV show you'll find in this scene.
My experience, there are no heroes, no villains, just people with different agendas.
Warrior by day, vigilante by night.
I'm just trying to make my city a better place.
Is his reflection Daredevil?
Very possibly.
I like it.
It's definitely walking differently than he is. Does seem to be a little bit of red in there. It doesn't look like he's wearing a suit and tie.
Well, I thought I saw like horns on the head or something like that, or maybe that's just the glare.
It could very well be. It's a groovy poster. It'll be interesting to see how they try and fit this character in now that the world's full of people that can, throw buildings and shit. But I did notice the name of his law firm, Nelson and Murdoch up there. I did notice the Kingpin getting out of the SUV, and it looked like Foggy Nelson and Betty Brant down front.
Mm-hmm.
I am wondering, though, I haven't heard of an Elektra in the show so far.
I'm hoping they hold off on that for a little while. Let it establish itself under its own name.
I can see that. I just wonder, because a lot of comic book diehards, the two of them are usually found pretty close to each other for no real reason.
No, I think they have reasons, but...
It depends on whether or not you're a reader of the comics. They just tend to gravitate towards each other for reasons that are a little bit beyond me. They keep trying to kill each other. Deadpool, a little bit of news has come out about that film. Ryan Reynolds says that critical comic book fans will enjoy the film. He spoke with Shortlist recently and said, quote, "I'm incredibly happy about it. You've got a director that understands that world and writers with a slavish devotion to the canon of the character. That's the most important aspect. It's made in a way the most critical of fanboys could embrace. Well, that's the hope," unquote.
Yeah. That was a good amendment.
Yeah. The most critical of fanboys. You do realize what that statement means, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of guys sitting in basements are going to go over every frame of the film until they're satisfied.
I don't live in a basement.
Spoiler alert, they won't be satisfied.
Yeah. Are they ever?
But they have announced what Morena Baccarin's doing in the movie.
Oh?
Well, they didn't announce it so much as it was just kind of an accidental leak. There was a recent tweet that was put out of a picture which came from Morena Baccarin's own Twitter account, which has been removed. It was the back of a director's chair, one of the chairs you see on set.
Mm-hmm.
And it said Morena Baccarin, and underneath was a Deadpool symbol, and underneath that was the word Vanessa. Vanessa, in the comic books, is the real name of a character codenamed Copycat, a mutant with blue skin that had the ability to change forms and adopt other people's personas.
So, Mystique.
Actually, this was one of Wade Wilson's first actual girlfriends in comics. She dated him for quite a while until she was killed.
I think she's a little bit better than Mystique because she adopts the psychological mannerisms as opposed to the physical.
No, it's not the psychological. She is a shapeshifter for all intents and purposes. She doesn't do anything psychic to just delve into their brains. But she was the one who, when you first read New Mutants 98, Domino shows up.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't Domino.
Oh, right.
During the first 20 issues of X-Force, it turns out Domino was Copycat.
Right.
She was a mole. They found Domino tied up later, and boy, was she pissed.
I bet.
There's also a new clip regarding the upcoming episode for this Tuesday. What would that be? March 24th? March 24th. Yeah. God, the day I'm stressing about Comic-Con. Why can I forget that? There's an actual clip from the beginning of next week's show.
Okay.
It's Skye discussing her malady between the Fitzsimmons.
Oh.
Should be interesting.
There it is.
Did you say the Fitzsimmons?
Yes, the Fitzsimmons.
Well, the
when they're in the same room working a project, they're often working together.
Yeah.
Time to heal. Great. Tried to go Zen to keep my powers in check. Only to
At least it
find
doesn't
myself
sound like Simmons wants to kill her right now.
back on the DL,
The down low.
the disabled list.
Ah. Oh yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and now I'm all.
No, it could just be growing pains from the new powers.
It's okay, Fitz. You can put a positive spin on
I love
I'm not doing
Fitz.
that. I would never patronize the
His character's actually gotten better rounded out since he had neurotrauma.
No, I
things
love
change,
what
that's
they've done
I'm
with
saying.
him.
So maybe if you can learn to control this,
He's
then
gotten more complicated since the first
you
season,
can have
much better.
Avengers level powers. Something like Captain America even.
I mean,
best
they
we
were
keep
obviously
in mind the
playing up
unstable nature of
the
Sky's power.
duality
If there
between
is an
those two
Avenger equivalent
characters
right
so
now,
that the
I'm afraid
separation
it's
would
the
be
Hulk.
more intense.
Well, Hulk saved
Yeah.
the world last I checked.
You're absolutely right. But given the choice, I believe Bruce Banner would not hesitate to cure himself once and for all.
Well then, I guess we should be thankful that nobody's given him the choice.
Oh, Fitz!
Well, don't all fetch me. I'd make.
Didn't he quit doing that?
But trying to cure himself?
Yeah.
He stopped trying after he shot himself, if you recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, yeah, he did save the world, but he did do significant damage to downtown.
Yeah, but it does look like that they're not going to back off the whole Inhuman saga during this entire season, now that we found out there's 4 extra diviners, obelisks, whatever you want to call them, that are unaccounted for. Or was it 5?
I know, I think it was
that box
5. There were 6 in that box.
Yeah. So there's nothing in that box. There were 6 empty shapes.
Yeah, 6 empty. Yeah. So there's 5 more diviners out there.
However, I am curious because at the end of the last episode, Mr. Hyde was being taken by one of the Inhumans to see somebody, and when I first saw them, I'm like, who would he be taking him to see? Black Bolt? Medusa? Really? No. I kind of jacked myself up there and then realized they're not going to pull that trigger that early. Let me see. We did get a little bit of commentary from Miles Teller, who's starring as Reed Richards in the new Fantastic Four film.
Mm-hmm.
He said regarding the images that everyone's seen of the characters in their quote-unquote costumes, it's not the end. He said, quote, these are the beta versions of the costume, which is great. But yeah, it would be very odd if the Fantastic Four didn't don the traditional costumes. You've got to. There's some service there. You've got to give that to the fans. That's what it's all about, unquote.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about that prospect. Because I do agree with the Fantastic Four costumes. They're iconic. When you see somebody wearing a t-shirt with a giant 4 on it, you know exactly what they're talking about. However, those costumes have not aged well.
Mm.
I'd like to see a modern take or remix of them, but if it's going to be the teal blue with the giant 4 on it, I can do without that.
Didn't he go red for a bit?
They did. They went back after about 8 months.
Too many people complained?
I could only imagine. I mean, red is an interesting take, but there were too many red-style costumes already in Marvel, in my opinion. They needed to go back to blue just for something different.
Mm.
Last bit of Marvel media news I have. According to toybox.io9.com, someone has stolen Scarlett Johansson's soul.
What?
What?
Say what now?
I knew that would get your attention because
Did
the
Lucy
people they
do
say
it?
that the people that they said stole Scarlett Johansson's soul is Hot Toys. Hot Toys makes a lot of like 12-inch figures based on movies and video games and all kinds of other stuff. Check out this Age of Ultron Black Widow. It's a little too
that
light.
doesn't even look like a figurine almost.
The up close definitely looked like a photo, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, Hot Toys generally sells these via SideshowToy.com or Sideshow Collectibles, usually for about $250 to $300. I tell you what, I have none of these. I might start. No, I'm not saying that to be dickish or just saying I want to touch Scarlett Johansson. It's literally, this is like super fucking impressive to me.
Yeah, no.
I agree.
It's detailed, it's articulated, it has a few fists and weapon options, comes with a stand, comes with 2 gigantic fucking rifles. I don't even know what the hell those are. Even comes with fake lightning to put on the gauntlets to make it look like she's about to taser somebody.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really impressive figure. The only thing that would make it creepy is if you could change the position of the eyes somehow. That would get to be too much for me. From there, we will do the same for DC. We'll talk about DC media properties, and there's a few more details coming out about the Flash and Arrow spinoff that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
According to Greg Berlanti, he says the team-up focus of the spinoff, quote, "For us, first and foremost, with all of our shows, it's about how is it its own thing, because we don't just want to do it to do it." He said this before the cast of Arrow and Flash hit the stage at Paley Fest on March 14th. Some people that do that, and then they're 3 episodes in thinking, why did we do this? So for me, I compared the shows to old westerns. We have a lot of lone gunmen and sheriffs in town, and this one is very much an ode to things like the Magnificent Seven, or those great heist picks like Ocean 11, where you get all of those colors at the same time, and a true ensemble. And that was the fun of it, unquote. So they're going for a full team-up. And Berlanti also talked about the fact that only Victor Garber has been cast in the show. They haven't cast Robbie Armell in it yet. You know, the two halves of Firestorm. And he said, quote, "One of the main burning questions after the project's announcement was why Robbie Armell was missing from the cast list, considering he makes up the other half of Firestorm, Ronnie Raymond. Unfortunately, it sounds like bad news could be on the horizon, as Berlanti admits there is a particular reason for his absence, but I can't say why," unquote.
It's unfortunate.
It is, unfortunately. You know, I was kind of looking forward to a show with Firestorm. I wonder if this means they're going to do the later version of Firestorm with Jason Rush instead, the character that showed up earlier in Flash, Black Kid. Remember the one who explained Firestorm?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. In the comics, he became half of Firestorm for a while. They also mentioned a change to a key character in The Flash as a result of recent episodes. Now, for those that haven't been keeping up with The Flash, and I will admit, when The Flash came back, I actually had a sigh of relief. I missed the show.
Oh, you actually like a DC
property? I didn't think I enjoyed it as much as I did, but I did. I actually liked the fact that the show is back. The last episode, which was the first since the return... Was it the first or second? Yeah, the first since the return from the mid-season hiatus. The Flash actually got into an adventure where at the end he ran so fast he went backwards in time by about 24 hours.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, as a result of something that's going to happen... Now, spoilers. Again, if you hate spoilers, why are you here? As a result of the last episode, several things occurred. We found out that Dr. Harrison Wells, his real name is Eobard Thawne.
Yep.
And he killed Cisco.
Yeah, hand through the chest kind of does that.
Yeah. But remember, all these events have now occurred in the future. And Barry Allen finds himself backwards in time 24 hours. He doesn't know about Eobard Thawne. He doesn't know Cisco is dead. He doesn't know a couple other things that he may actually find out before the end of the next episode. Now, according to a couple of things that happened, or a couple of things that are going to happen in the next episode, which is still a time travel adventure, there are several things that are going to occur that could change the outcome of several things for Eddie Thawne, the cop and Iris West's boyfriend.
Yeah.
That was another thing from the last episode, was we found out that Iris West does have feelings for Barry Allen. They hinted at a major personality change for Eddie. Quote, "There are episodes coming up where there is a concern of certain events being changed in the past that would affect who people are and their relationships with each other. If the past changes, does the present change as well?" Unquote. So, could we be seeing a more vicious side of Eddie Thawne coming out in the near future? Maybe this starts a family-long hatred of the Flash.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, it turns out that in regards to Arrow, it's been revealed that 2 characters will find out Oliver Queen's secret in this season.
Ooh, nice.
What secret is left?
Well, THR recently reported that during the Paley Fest panel of Arrow, it was confirmed that Ray Palmer, played by Brandon Ruth, and Captain Lance, played by Paul Blackthorne, will learn Oliver Queen's secret identity in a coming episode. The report also contained quotes from Stephen Amell teasing what to expect in a return episode this Wednesday called The Offer, which I believe was this past Wednesday. Amell revealed that Ra's al Ghul offered Oliver the opportunity to take his place in the first place. Quote, "Legend has it that the man who survived Ray's blade will become Ra's al Ghul." So in other words, he has to figure out whether or not to accept this offer. And apparently not a lot of people ever turn down that offer and live to tell the tale. So here are your choices. Run the League of Assassins, or I kill you.
Again.
So, a lot of changes. You know what? I have a question. I wonder how much news do you think is going to come out about these series at Comic-Con? Holy fuck, we're going to be busy.
Yeah.
Further in DC media news, we talked a couple weeks ago about how Dean Cain and Helen Slater were cast in mystery roles for the new Supergirl TV show.
Dean Cain
played Superman in The Adventures of Lois and Clark, and Heather Slater played Supergirl in the 1980s Oh My God Supergirl film. It's been announced that they have been cast as the parents or the adopted parents of the next Supergirl.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay.
They're going to play her. They're going to play her Earthbound parents in the show, the Danvers, Fred and Sylvia.
That is a unique bit of homage in a way.
Yeah,
a little bit. But as soon as I read that, all of a sudden I had flashbacks to Project Echo.
Oh God, I haven't watched that in forever.
So much, didn't it? I'm sorry, V. And for people who don't know, Project Echo was this series of mini movies about this one character, a schoolgirl who had unnaturally high strength and vulnerability for no reason. And in the last part of the first Project Echo movie, she's running out of her house on her way to school, and as she passes by her parents, you notice that her dad is reading a newspaper, and as he lowers it, he's wearing big rim glasses, and he has a spit curl in the middle of his head.
And the mom is ironing a shirt with an S on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's often been joked that her parents are Superman and Wonder Woman. But believe it or not all DC news is amicable this week. Jason Momoa may be starting some shit.
Really?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, there were a lot of celebrities in attendance in regards to Indiana Comic-Con. And Jason Momoa was there. He's been announced as a new Aquaman. Why wouldn't he be there, right?
Yeah.
And he was signing stuff for fans while he was there. He had a table, or he was at the signature table. One fan brought her Aquaman poster with her, the one that has Jason Momoa and Unite the Seven on it. And he asked Momoa to sign the poster with a reason why all these DC haters out there should join our DC universe. Okay?
Ooh.
Damn.
So, when he writes on the poster, the lady picks it up and takes a good look, and there, written in gold, is "Fuck Marvel," signed Jason Momoa.
Whoa.
Now, you've been cast in a movie. Totally appreciate that. You want to protect your job? Still appreciate that. What the fuck is up with that, dude?
It almost sounds personal in a way.
Doesn't it? It's just supposed to be a reason why people should check out DC films, not a reason to hate the other shit. That almost... I don't quite know where to go with that, because, first of all, I don't want to get bitch slapped by Khal Drogo. But at the same time, I think the skinny little guy with the glasses named Bruce Banner could beat the shit out of Aquaman if he wanted to. So, I don't quite know where to go with this. DC is also coming out with a DC Iconic Moment statues with springs in the statues, and I don't quite know why there are springs. They're going to be motion statues, which are variations on infamous comic book scenes from DC Comics, including the cover of Action Comics #1, the debut of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern in Showcase #22, and a panel from the Killing Joke graphic novel with the Joker. I will send you a copy of the image, because while I like the idea, the execution bothers me a little bit. The one with the Joker is very interesting, with the laughter in the background. It's almost this creepy scene. Mm-hmm. That's that scene in The Killing Joke where he had just fallen into the chemicals and he came out as the Joker.
Yeah.
Very cool. Why does he have a spring in his ass?
What? Oh.
Take a good look. There's a spring right there between his legs.
There's a spring in Hal Jordan's ass, too.
I was about to say, there's a spring straight up Hal Jordan's ass in that cover as well.
Superman's the only one that's been spared.
I think there's springs in that car somehow.
No, it's in his torso. It's separating the...
oh, you're right. Okay, these are motion statues. However, is that a Pikachu in the car above Superman's head?
Oh shit!
A red one.
I'm not saying that to be mean, because I doubt that's actually a Pikachu, but from a distance, that does look like there's a Pikachu in there. Okay, I'm leaning in towards my monitor. I see that's broken glass.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what it is.
It
There's
does
a
look
fire
like a Pikachu.
in it or something like that.
Yeah, it does look like there's a Pikachu in that car, though.
I was going to make a comment about Superman already having a stick up his ass, but, Pikachu comic's probably better.
Well, in regards to the new DC team-up show coming, the Flash and Arrow spin-off, they've already cast another character who's been in a prior DC show. It's been announced that Dominic Purcell has also been cast to appear in the show as the Heatwave character again.
Cool.
He debuted not too long ago in Flash episodes, and it's also been revealed as of the trailer we saw that he's going to make another appearance as Heatwave with Captain Cold and his sister. I don't remember her name, but I think her call sign in the comics is Glider.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And last up, there may have been a bit of a bomb drop by Dwayne Johnson.
Who?
Yes, in a recent interview with IGN, Dwayne Johnson was promoting Furious 7, the new Fast and Furious car porn film.
Okay.
And he started talking about his character Black Adam, which is supposed to be appearing in Zack Snyder's upcoming film The Justice League Part 1, hitting theaters in 2017. What Dwayne Johnson said to the interview was, quote, "I think so, and I think you always want to leave that creativity open, that he could join the Justice League, and I think that's the fun part of creating this character right now and everybody involved. From the studio, from New Line to Warner Brothers as well, to the writer, our producing partners. You definitely want to engage in his heroic side. But that has to be earned, and with the mythology of Black Adam starting off as a slave, because when you start off as a slave, just inherently, there's things in your DNA that piss you off," unquote. So it sounds like Black Adam's debut will not be in the Shazam film upcoming, but in the Justice League movie. And I almost say that's fitting to have a villain of that caliber as the first actual Justice League villain. That is a major foe.
Which only leaves, maybe one person that can handle him? And even then?
Even then, Shazam probably won't have debuted by then.
Yeah.
So that leaves it up to the other characters, and remember, magic is supposed to be one of those instant weaknesses of Superman.
Yep. Exactly.
Through all defenses. So this character would come at him like a freight train. It's an interesting idea. At least they're getting away from the whole, oh my god, Lex Luthor is at it again.
They're going on real extreme and brought in Darkseid right away.
Oh god, no, I don't need that storyline for a fifth fucking time. We'll go into general media news. We'll talk about those interestingly nerdy projects that don't quite fit into Marvel and DC's pantheon. My brain almost broke at the announcement of a new movie called Skin Trade.
Huh?
What would you think a movie called Skin Trade is about?
I can think
Nothing
of several
Several
things.
things are going through my mind what that could be.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you now, you're all wrong.
Okay.
Oh.
A new trailer has been released for this film that stars Tony Jaa, the guy from the Protector movies, the one that's really good at Muay Thai,
Okay.
Oh, that guy.
and his partner, Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
They're going up against a villain named Dragovic, who's being played by Ron Perlman. I have the trailer, and I'm superbly curious about this. I have not seen this yet.
Okay. Gimme.
Entertain us. Entertain us.
Wow. I didn't think it'd be that easy to send this to you guys. I thought I'd hear a bunch of, that sounds like shit. It's like, yeah, that's the idea.
What are you talking? We all grew up with the same era.
Yeah.
Ish.
It can't be. It can't be any worse than what was that one they were trying to kickstart, where they were going after Hitler and.
Oh no, they did kickstart that. That went, dude.
Oh, okay. What the hell was that
Viking
called?
Cop or something. I don't remember the name of it. It was so goddamn weird, and I want to watch it.
Yes, I do too.
It was like Bad Cop or something really basic like that.
Kung Fu Cop or what the?
Kung Fu Cop might have been in. I sent the link. He was like riding a Lamborghini with a Gatling gun or something stupid
In
like
both
that.
hands, with both arms.
Yeah. Well, there's Tony Jaa at the beginning. And he's kicking ass with his belt.
2 shipments of girls.
That's when you know you've been pimp slapped.
Found in Los Angeles harbor. Go.
Oh, so Skin Trade appears to be about an illegal immigration and prostitution ring.
Which makes total sense. It's actually what I was thinking was.
Very dangerous men.
There's Ron Perlman, playing a Russian mobster.
Was the worst decision Viktor Dragovich ever made.
2 cops.
So it seems like one from one side of the ocean, the other one's from the other side, and they're both on the same thing. Same mission.
So it's Rush Hour without the funny.
Sophie's gone.
And the black people.
You think somewhere in Thailand.
So we got a Chinese man and a Russian dude?
Yeah, and it sounds like he goes to Thailand because they kidnapped his girlfriend or something.
No, they killed her.
With the RPG.
No one with a heart.
Find a daughter.
Oh no, find it. So yeah, they took her.
Man, Jock can really do some nasty split kicks.
Over.
Oh shit! He dropped him.
So the Dolph Lundgren is going to do nothing but guns while the other dude's just going to be kicking and punching?
Yeah, well, Dolph
apparently
Lundgren was never a huge martial artist.
Yeah, it's going to be in theaters May 8th, and all I can say about that is I think I know the next movie I'm going to see after Age of Ultron.
Yeah, me too!
This looks awesome. It looks horrible, but it looks awesome. We do have news in regards to Star Wars. The Rogue One movie that we talked about last week.
Uh-huh.
It's been announced that it'll be the first Star Wars movie not scored by John Williams.
That's not a good announcement.
It's not one I look forward to. It's been announced that the composer of Rogue One will be Alexandre Desplat.
Never heard of him.
What's his history?
Well, Desplat actually is not a slouch. His writing credits so far in composing are The Imitation Game, Godzilla, Argo, Zero Dark 30, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, and he recently won an Academy Award for the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay, I'm willing to like this
Surprisingly,
guy.
I've not seen any of those movies.
I haven't either, but I've heard good things about Argo in particular.
Here's the thing, though. V, there's a reason for you to get happy. The reason why they didn't ask Williams to do this movie is because he's going to be busy with the music for episodes 7, 8, and 9.
Aha.
So he's already booked.
Yeah, in other words, the A game, the varsity team is already busy. Send the JV to that one. Now, Steve and I are Halo fans. I think Jesse, to a lesser degree, finds it funny and he enjoys Rooster Teeth.
Oh, yeah.
I've played it.
I am going to lose money to... I'm going to lose money to Kotobukiya on this. They're releasing a new Art FX line based on Halo Master Chief figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones they've done previously have been pretty good already.
Oh no, check out these action figures. These are going to be 2. One is the classic Master Chief. The other one is a more modern version from the PvP line, red, blue, and stuff. It's the Mark V armor, the classic Master Chief, and the Mark VI next to it, the Gent version. Now, the reason why I say I'm going to lose money to this is for this particular reason. I want you to check this out. What I sent you is another picture of armor pieces for the Mark V armor.
Oh.
Do you get where I'm going?
Oh, I see where you're going.
I don't.
Yes. You can mix and match the armor over the base Spartan figures in this new lineup. And that also means that Kotobukiya, instead of selling you brand new action figures all the time, can sell you expansion packs so you can remake the armor as you see fit, probably for a lesser cost. The Halo Master Chief statue, the one from Halo 4, is going to be available October 2015 for $80.
So is it just me, or is that bottom left hand somewhat giving people the bird?
It's not somewhat. It totally is.
Okay.
But the base Master Chief figure, like I said, the modern armor is $80. There is no announcement as to how much the Mark V and Mark VI armors will be, but it's likely to be less than $80. I am going to lose fucking money.
Well, you're going to spend money. I don't know if you're going to lose it.
I'm a Halo fan, and these are awesome. Especially the sword you get with the Gent armor. With the Mark V armor, you get the Magnum, Super Magnum. And of course, with the base figure, you get the auto rifle. V, this is news that you're going to like.
Okay.
IO9 and Rob Bricken decided to list 5 Game of Thrones book plots that they're glad the TV show is skipping.
Oh, I've heard about this, but didn't actually look at it.
Okay, there are 5 storylines that are in the books that are not going to be in the TV show. So if you haven't read too far in the books, I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be a spoilerific episode, obviously. The first storyline they talk about is Phagon. Anybody?
I don't... unless you're pronouncing it differently, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
And I don't read or watch the series, so...
Okay, quote, a less than subtle portmanteau of fake and Aegon, the character is popularly known as Phagon in A Song of Fire and Ice, seems to have been omitted in Season 5. Despite all indications he'll be a major force in the books, he says he is, the lost son of Rhaegar Targaryen, supposedly killed when he was a baby, spirited away in the nick of time and traded for someone else's very unlucky baby. Varys and Illyris Mopadio have been hiding Aegon and training him to be a just and wise ruler for the good of the realm. Although it's doubtful they'll mind having someone on the throne who trusts them implicitly. In the books, it's supposed to be unclear if Aegon is legit or not, but whether he is or isn't, the arrival of such a potentially major character in Book 5 of the series has rankled many readers, not least because, if it's true, it seems to diminish Daenerys' importance in the narrative considerably, given that the son of the prince has a more legitimate claim to the Iron Throne than she does. Even if it's a plot development George R.R. Martin had considered from the beginning, Phagon feels like a last-minute addition, and since he hasn't had time to do anything other than show up, there doesn't seem to be a reason for his existence other than to delay the real plot. Maybe that will change in future volumes of the books, but for now, it's kind of a relief that no one seems to have been cast as the character, unquote.
I would kind of have been like to see the character, but I can accept that logic.
I would have liked to have seen it just because it's one of those mixing plot lines, is he or isn't he? I like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
The second plot line is Greyjoy Family Matters. Quote, a great deal of A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons takes place on the island of Pike. The fate of the kingdom is up for grabs after King Balon mysteriously dies during a storm. Either he fell off of one of Pike's bridges accidentally, or he had help from one of the assassins known as the Faceless Men. And Balon's brother, Aeron Damphair, calls a king's moot to decide who should lead the Iron Islands. The options mainly boil down to Balon's daughter, Asha, known as Yara in the show, and Balon's awful brother, Euron Crowseye, best known for tearing out the tongues of all of his ship's crew and raping his brother Victarion's wife. So of course Euron wins, which means the Greyjoys and the Ironborn are about to get even more horrible. It's not a terrible storyline, but we would much rather spend time with Tyrion, Jon Snow, Arya, Sansa, Bran, Jaime, the Sand Snakes, and pretty much everyone else than the Greyjoys. Supposedly the Greyjoy storyline is absent in Season 5. I suppose it could show up in Season 6, but if the show sticks to the self-imposed 7-season limit, it seems unlikely it would waste time on Pike politics. Frankly, if a Raven would arrive somewhere with a note reading Pike as a new king, who's like Balon but even worse, that would have more than suffice, unquote. That does sound like an awful character to even contemplate.
Yeah, I liked the character of Euron. I would have liked to have seen that character portrayed visually, but Yara in the show, the actress they got to play her, I don't really like, and
the thing is,
though, already moved past it.
It's something I've developed ever since I was reading manga and watching anime series based on them. I like it when there's two different narratives. I would rather read a different story in the books than get, a completely panel-for-panel retelling as far as TV.
I can appreciate
which
that.
Is different for me. I'm more of a purist.
Okay. Storyline number 3 is The Bachelor, Quentin Martell. Quote, in A Dance with Dragons, Prince Doran Martell of Dorne reveals he had planned to marry his daughter Arianne to Viserys Targaryen in hopes that he would reconquer Westeros. Viserys spoiled that plan back in Season 1 by being a complete jackass. But Doran's backup plan is to marry his dull son Quentyn to Daenerys with hopefully the same results. I'm not calling the character dull to be funny. The book goes out of its way to describe Quentyn as plain in every way, and boy does it give no evidence to the contrary. And yet, so much of A Dance with Dragons involves Quentin's journey to Meereen to meet with Dany, his complete lackluster wooing of her, and then him sticking around for no apparent reason even after she says no. And he sticks around for a long time, accomplishing nothing and being of interest to no one, especially Dany. Frankly, the only interesting thing Quentin's done is get burned by Drogon at the end of the book, but he doesn't even have the decency to die. I can't even imagine what future development could occur that would somehow make this story arc matter. It seems incredibly unlikely that Dorne will declare war against Daenerys just because Doran's dumb kid got in the way of a dragon. And thus we're very glad of all the Martells joining the show in Season 5. Quentin does not appear to be among them. Unquote.
Yeah, I also didn't really like that storyline. I mean, I did, but it didn't really grab me.
Now, storyline number 4, I've heard about them skipping, and after reading this prior, I'm really glad they am. Or really glad they are. Wow, I went black all of a sudden. The fourth storyline in this list of 5 storylines that from the books of A Song of Fire and Ice that are being skipped in the Game of Thrones TV series is Tyrion's Walk of Shame.
Tyrion's Walk of Shame?
Yes. Quote, after Tyrion kills his dad and flees King's Landing in the books, he has nowhere to go. Eventually he ends up at Illyrio Mopatis' place, who sends him to Meereen along with Fagon to meet with Daenerys. As the trailers for the new season have shown, Tyrion seems to meet up with Daenerys very soon. A very different scenario from the books, in which Tyrion still hasn't met the Mother of Dragons. What Tyrion has done in the books is had a massive series of misadventures, none of which are particularly noteworthy. He's captured by the exiled Jorah Mormont, and then they're both captured by slavers, and eventually bought by a mercenary company. He's also met a fellow dwarf named Penny and forced to mock joust each other, just as Joffrey had a troop of dwarves do at his wedding feast to Marjorie. Given how awful fate has treated Tyrion so far, forcing him to participate in this dwarf mocking seems just too insulting, and it's likely a scene that actor Peter Dinklage is probably very happy to avoid altogether, unquote.
Very likely.
He's definitely a force to be reckoned with on that show. Last storyline that they're skipping from the books is Victarion and the Hate Boat. Quote, when Euron's Crow-Eye wins the King's Moot and Pike, his brother Victarion loses. Asha is never considered a real candidate because she's a woman, and the fact that she's the only sane, competent member of her family be damned. Although Victarion loathes Euron, once Euron is declared king, Victarion obeys him completely. So when Euron orders him to go to Meereen to ask for Daenerys' hand in marriage, on Euron's behalf, obviously, Victarion sets sail immediately. Victarion is yet another remarkably awful person. That aforementioned wife of his, Euron raped, Victarion beat her to death as punishment for being raped. But he's a major addition in a Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, even though he also doesn't even get to Meereen by the end of the latter book. So a great deal of time is spent hanging out with Victarion on his trip, as he reveals he's almost as evil as Ramsay Bolton, except without even the tiny shred of humanity that at least allows Ramsay to revel in his own cruelty. Victarion's entire narrative existence seems to be to bring the Dragonhorn to Dragonbinder to Daenerys, found off-page by Euron, presumably so she can get control of her 3 dragons so they stop freaking out and killing people before she invades Westeros. But it seems impossible that the terrible Victarion will fare any better in wooing Dany than Quentin Martell did, and he'll more than likely meet the same fate as well, which is possibly why the show didn't seem to have cast his character either. Surely there's a more efficient way to get a dragon horn in Daenerys' hand than spending all that time with an awful character whose fate is almost certainly already sealed, unquote.
Yeah, I never liked that character.
You don't sound like beyond dickish. But speaking of Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne is currently sitting in a new temporary home in the Tower of London.
Okay.
I'm not kidding you. The recent debut of season 5 of Game of Thrones went off in England over the last week, and as part of the celebration, they lowered the actual Game of Thrones Iron Throne prop into the Tower of London for the party. They also had blasted dragon videos and various clips onto the side of the ancient building. They projected it onto the side of the Tower of London. That sounds like an insane trip, and it's so much fun.
Agreed.
But there's also the idea of the Iron Throne sitting in the Tower of London. You just got to wonder, is this new center of England? The UK has really embraced the show because of how much filming they do out there.
Which is good and smart.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Peter Dinklage, he had a new trailer come out recently. Has anybody seen the new trailer for Pixels?
No.
Nope.
This movie was talked about a little bit during last year's Comic-Con. They had some kind of special retro arcade dedicated to it. It's a movie where video game characters are coming to life because of aliens and attacking the planet. The only thing that stops me from saying, okay, I have to see this now, is the fact that one of the central stars, if not the central star, is Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
he's hit or miss
with him.
He's entirely missed for me.
He's only hit once for me, and that was The Longest Yard. I actually like the remake, not because of him, but because of how many other funny-ass people were in that movie. Here is the link to the Pixels trailer. I know, hold your breath, right?
I saw a comparison of this on Crack to an episode of Futurama.
That's an apt comparison, unfortunately. So the whole storyline is based on a 1982 time capsule sent to space to contact alien life, who apparently found video games in it and thought these are fucking dangerous. They decided to augment our weapons and send them back at us. And the storyline goes that the only hope for humanity is a bunch of people who basically lived on video games in the 80s.
Oh, us?
No, losers.
Oh
yeah.
I love the space invader design. That's awesome.
I know.
Like video games to attack us.
And it seems that their attacks pixelate and crumble things. Kind of like Tron derezzing. I think you... Yep. Pac-Man eating a fire truck.
Incoming!
Oh.
Donkey Kong. It's just a barrel. How bad can it hurt?
Centipede.
Yep.
The only way to take down Pac-Man is with ghosts.
You want ghosts? These are your ghosts.
Winky.
Peter Dinklage with a mullet. I mean, how does it... That's a certain level of awesome.
We are all gonna die.
I think this movie would be better without Adam Sandler, but I'll watch it anyway.
I'm right behind you. The concept is very funny, but Adam Sandler is one of the unfunniest comedians I know.
I agree with that.
No, I saw...
Look, the creator of Pac-Man.
You'll see.
Professor Iwatani, what are you doing?
I will talk to him. He's my son.
Oh God.
Hello, my sweet little boy.
He's gonna be
Giant
eaten. He's gonna be eaten. Eat! Eat! Eat!
I know. You're a good boy.
Somebody annihilate this
There it is.
Yeah, as interesting as the concept is, I don't want to watch this.
The sad part is I was very interested in the trailer until I saw Adam Sandler's face, and every time he comes in, it's like my heart sinks. There's also another trailer I have for you to a new movie starring Haley Steinfeld called Barely Lethal. Some people are calling it the best thing you'll get to, or the best substitution to having Kick-Ass 3.
Huh.
The supporting cast is Samuel L. Jackson, Jessica Alba, Sophie Turner, and Kyle Newman. It's about a girl who is tired of being trained nonstop as an assassin, so she decides to hide out at a high school and pretend to be a normal kid.
This sounds
You know what?
like an anime.
I've heard comic books like that. It does sound like an anime, actually.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to check this out, because this sounds interesting enough to at least view. There it is.
We're ready to pop.
Okay, that's a big-ass rifle.
I never knew my parents. The only thing I ever knew was Prescott, special school for orphans.
Back of the line, Grandma.
Where they teach girls to kill.
Wow.
Engage.
Look at these little toddlers learning to fight.
Attachments.
That part never sounded right to me. But I was good at everything else. The best, actually.
Wow.
Meet Victoria Knox. American
It almost feels like we saw this in Agent Carter, actually.
I was afraid you were going to say Agent Cody Banks.
I've not seen that, thank God.
Don't.
I'm totally gonna watch this for Sophie Turner.
I haven't seen her yet.
She's been in this. She's around the table.
Oh,
Look for the
okay.
red hair.
Oh, yeah, all right. Now I see her. She's like partially blonde or something.
Wipe all that off. Put this on. Just try not to talk to me.
This looks... I don't know.
Not usually.
I'm starting starting to get the inference that there's going to be a lot of shitty movies this summer that I'm going to enjoy watching.
All my high school research suggests that they're awkward loners. Cash loves school spirit.
See, the first half of this looked cool.
Who are you?
I don't know.
Then it suddenly turns into a high school movie.
She's beating the shit out of people in a giant Vikings
Well,
costume. That's
if I'm being
Okay, that's
totally
actually pretty
honest,
funny. That's actually pretty funny.
She better bring fire. She better bring thunder. And she better bring hell. Just tell her to bring it before 10:30. I've got a curfew.
You don't actually do. Except I'm not a psycho bitch. Give it some time.
You know what? This looks stupid enough to be fun.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, I generally like a lot of teen movies, so
I've avoided them as of lately because I don't know.
Lately, maybe not so much, but
Well, when I mean lately, I mean maybe the last 5 years.
Oh, okay. Well, there's another new movie coming out. I do have a trailer for this. However, that's not the reason why I've got it. It's called Crimson Peak. It's being directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's starring Tom Hiddleston, Jessica Chastain, Mia Wasikowska, and Charlie Hunnam. Pretty good list of actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why this came here is because somebody else saw it and decided to chime in. Stephen King has recently seen the movie. You always know when one creator talks about another creator's work, you're going to get something weird as far as a quote.
Mm.
And he said he was treated to a screening of Guillermo del Toro's new movie. And King tweeted King tweeted on March 16th, quote, "Gorgeous and just fucking terrifying," unquote. In a subsequent tweet, he said it, quote, "electrified me in the same way Sam Raimi's Evil Dead electrified me when I saw it back in the day," unquote.
Huh.
I don't know what's scaring Stephen King more, that it's just truly horrifying or it didn't have a sentient car in it. We've been talking a little bit on and off about the Preacher TV series. We still don't know who's been cast as the role of Jesse Custer, the seminal preacher in the show. However, remember the prostitute friend Tulip?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That has been cast.
Hmm.
It's being played by somebody we actually know very well, Ruth Negga.
Who?
Ruth Negga. She plays Reyna in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh.
She is playing the prostitute in the series. It's also been announced that they've cast another character in the show. There's an 18-year-old actor named Ian Coletti. He's been cast as Arseface.
Arseface?
Oh, wow.
Remember the kid that tried to shoot himself in the head and kind of missed?
Yeah, the retarded
shotgun?
son of the sheriff.
Oh.
Yeah, he blew off like half of his head with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember that character.
Wait.
Yeah. Arseface is in the show. Somebody said his face looks like an ass, and that's what he started calling himself after his father killed himself after having his own dick shoved up his ass. I think I have that correct.
I'm going to see this guy in April.
Ask him what it's like to have an ass for a face. Some people have been a little bit pissy because there's some new action figures coming out in regards to Star Wars. Probably the first line that's official Disney stuff. And out of all of them, the Princess Leia action figure from the scene at the end of Star Wars A New Hope handing out medals, that one has been delayed. And people have already been pissed because Star Wars doesn't have a whole lot of notable female characters. There's not even a whole lot of Princess Leia action figures, and some people have taken this to be a little personal. They think that they're just not giving women their due. As it turns out, there's a problem with production of the action figure due to the robe on Princess Leia. It's actual cloth. So the character has not been canceled, and the pre-orders are still valid. It's just delayed. So people start freaking out a little early for the problem. They've announced that, as well as a Mission Series Princess Leia hitting shelves later this spring. So people need to calm down and give people a chance to work. Mark Miller, a notorious comic book writer, and I'm pretty sure the creator of Kick-Ass, he's one of his comics has just started coming out, an independent series called Chrononauts. It's already been fast-tracked by Universal for a feature fucking film.
Whoa.
Nice.
The series is following a pair of two sexy geniuses who show the world their time-traveling adventures live on TV. It's like a reality show about time traveling.
Okay.
Deadline is reporting that Miller and his illustrator, Sean Gordon Murphy, will be executive producers on the Chrononauts movie for Universal. And the writer from The Fast and the Furious, Chris Morgan, is already at work developing the screenplay. Okay, the official synopsis of Chrononauts is, quote, a bromance for the ages. Corbin Quinn and Danny Riley are two buddies who love to have fun. They're also scientific geniuses. With their when their research leads them to a time-traveling adventure, will they use their knowledge for the good of all mankind? Or use the space-time continuum for their own ends? This is the story of man's first televised steps through the time stream and everything going wrong in the process, unquote. It's like a lot of synopses I've read. I've heard worse.
Yeah, that's just true.
Sounds like a funny version of Quantum Leap.
Maybe. Last bit of general media news I have is that the Lucifer show coming out on Fox has already recast the female lead. One of the lead roles has now gone to Leslie Ann Branch from the Spartacus show. She's supposed to play the character of Maze. Previously, it was reported that Lena Esco had secured the role, but according to Deadline, the change was made after the first table read with Esco. Brandt had also tried out for this role, but Esco was chosen first, and then she was reconsidered after Esco was released. That's brutal. That's just really brutal.
Yeah, it's like, yes, I've got the part, and no.
Yeah.
It leads me to ask questions about how strong the casting is in this if they've already recast a female lead after a table read. What about their other decisions? So I have to wonder about that. We have Marvel comic news. We'll talk about some of the projects Marvel is working on. First announcement is that there is a new Star Wars series, and it's nabbed an artist, Stuart Immonen, who has been an artist on several different books for Marvel, including X-Men and Avengers books, as well as Next Wave. As of June's issue 6, or as of Stuart Immonen is joining the series in July's Star Wars issue 8. A guest artist is going to be between his run and the run of the prior artist, John Cassidy. I always love Immonen's work. He has some very expressive faces. He's already sent an example of what I assume is cover art. Take a look at his young Mark Hamill.
Nice.
Oh.
Actually looks like him. Good work.
It's a lot of guns.
Yeah, it looks like somebody's upset.
Well, R2 do.
He stole their porn again. There's another sketch here of his Han Solo. I'm not sure about that one. That looks like Han Solo now. Little wrinkled, lost, crashed his ship.
Younger.
Yeah, I see his Obi-Wan Kenobi there in the background. Wonder what story this is supposed to be. But in regards to Marvel's upcoming Secret Wars event, where most of their regular series are ending and it's unknown which ones are returning, they've announced another spin-off series is coming out during Secret Wars, going back to the Age of Apocalypse.
Okay.
The Age of Apocalypse was a storyline from the 90s where Professor Xavier was killed back in time, and it turns out Magneto was the one who started and ran the X-Men. Unfortunately, his run didn't go so well because Apocalypse took over the world and started slaughtering humans en masse in favor of mutants. The interesting thing is, though, the storyline has changed a little bit. Now, it's no secret that the Secret Wars is not a strict retelling of all these events. There's going to be twists and turns. According to this, though, the series will be written by Fabian Nizia and Geraldo Sandoval. The series is going to feature former New Mutant Cypher as one of the lead characters in this one. Cypher didn't really appear in the Age of Apocalypse prior.
I don't remember him in there.
According to Nizia, quote, Cypher not only interprets language, but he can also discern meaning and intent behind what is said. In their desperate attempt to save themselves and possibly pretend a greater war across Battleworld, Magneto's X-Men need Cypher to expose the true plans of both the desperate human faction led by Peter Borbo and Carol Danvers and Apocalypse, unquote. Nizia also said, this is like, I feel like I'm getting a chance to have my cake and eat it too. In many ways, the world I'm writing is very different from the original, but in other ways, it's exactly the same, unquote. They've already released synopses for the first 2 issues. The first one talks about their need to find Cypher. The second one does have a major difference. Quote, the hunt for Cypher brings Magneto's X-Men into confrontation with Cyclops and Havoc's elite mutant force. Meanwhile, Angel has to protect a flat scan named Jean Grey, and Dr. Nemesis plans to sabotage Dark Beast's quest to become Apocalypse's newest horseman, unquote. There are a couple changes from the Age of Apocalypse. Jean Grey was still a mutant in the original one.
Mm.
Now she's a normal human, and Dr. Nemesis had nothing to do with it. I'm going to check this out. This is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those weird ones.
Well, there's another mini that's coming out that I'm pretty sure all of us are going to check out. As part of Secret Wars, there's going to be a civil war.
Really?
Another one?
Charles Soule and Lionel Yu are working on it, who are 2 of the people who worked on the original Civil War. According to Soule, he says, quote, if you look at the ideas that the story had, Iron Man thought superheroes should have to register with the government and become something of a police force. Captain America thought that was restricting the central freedoms in this country. It was a debate of security versus freedom. We're taking that basic idea and expanding it to a larger canvas. The Registration Act is all in the past at this point. It's more of a world drastically changed based on a superhero war, and it's a huge story, and it's fun to be able to involve every Marvel character there is, unquote.
Damn.
It doesn't say what the storyline is, but if I had to make a guess based on that, it sounds like the Civil War plays out with a major brawl, except at this point, Captain America doesn't surrender. It sounds like it keeps going.
Mm.
You know, how would the world develop if Captain America didn't surrender and the fight continued? That would be a hell of a story.
It sounds like it might have spread worldwide.
Yeah, I'm trying to discern what I'm looking at from an image, but it's a small image. It looks like in this version, Captain America has with him a version of the Falcon, Agent Venom, maybe, I think that's Carol Danvers, or Dazzler, and Daredevil, and on Tony Stark's side, oh no, there's Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. Don't recognize one of those. I think that's Black Widow and Colossus.
Nice.
I'm immensely curious now. And last bit of Marvel comic news. Turns out it pays to be a woman. When Thor debuted in Thor God of Thunder back in 2012, it sold 110,443 issues. Pretty good for a comic book, right?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
The recent Thor #1, which had the debut of the female Thor, sold 150,862 issues. It outsold it by 25%. And if you want to talk about benchmarks, the 25th issue of Thor God of Thunder sold 48,000 copies in September. Last month was Thor #5, sold 69,500 issues. It's maintaining its 25% ratio over its predecessor.
Wow.
Either people are really liking this, or people just like seeing a woman touch the hammer.
I think I can answer that.
I know we have an explicit tag, but I just don't want to get into it. In DC Comic News, it looks like they may have finally, as of Batgirl 40, introduced an Oracle. And unfortunately, I say look like because there's no official word on any of it. Batgirl, in her current version, the more humorous version, she admits to having a program that is based on her own brain algorithms that's supposed to seek out issues for people to answer. I'm going to guess that her roommate knows who she is because she starts talking about the algorithm. As it turns out, her roommate cleaned up the program for her. It says, quote, I managed to isolate it from the corrupt brain scan data. This is a clean, safe version that's not going to go crazy or kill anyone. I was thinking about your initial idea to predict and fight crime. I think that if done right, it could work, and I think that I can work with it, kind of like your partner. I even gave it a name, and that's when they're interrupted by a knock at the door. She has a disabled friend named Frankie. Oh god, a disabled person who knows computers. That is the Oracle. Since the New 52 version, it's been said that Batgirl was still shot and paralyzed, but I still haven't heard how exactly she started walking or became Batgirl again.
Who knows?
She also, in She also, in Secret Origins 10, has what she calls an evil digital twin.
Okay.
Which I'm guessing is this algorithm they keep talking about, the cleaned up scan. It'd be nice if there was an Oracle again, although there was still something special about Barbara Gordon finding new life even after her legs were gone as Oracle. Just adding in another character doesn't have the same kind of pathos.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to bash for those of you listening. I'm not trying to hate DC. That's just what I feel about it. There was something really nifty about a woman finding out that being paralyzed wasn't the end of her life.
I agree.
And she could still make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. They're also unveiling one of the post-convergence titles. We talked about it. There's a new Batmite series coming.
Batmite?
Yes. Batmite is a creation, if I remember correctly, from a cartoon. I don't remember if it's Super Friends or something else. It was this weird little creature that just kind of appeared around Batman without much of a rhyme or reason.
Much like Kazoo and the Flintstones.
Yeah. More recent cartoons, like Batman the Brave and the Bold, have joked that Batmite is one of the fourth-dimensional creatures, like Mr. Mxyzptlk. Capable of changing reality. The idea of this series, according to DC veteran Dan Jurgens, is that this character is going to float through the DC universe, commenting on the absurdity of what's going on around him. In other words, he's going to be watching all these weird adventures being held by both superheroes and supervillains and just kind of point out, this is really weird.
So,
much like everyone else
he's
on the
a
internet.
universal straight man.
I'd say he's more like a universal Deadpool. He's just kind of watching it all and making comments. Batmite is the yellow boxes. According to co-publisher Dan Didio, quote, I was having conversation with Dan about what I wanted to do next, and I told him that there were themes and stories I wanted to explore, but I didn't know what DC had that would fit the format. Oh, I'm sorry, this is according to Jurgens. I'm certainly not the first person to observe that if you sit back and look at it, life can be strangely absurd at times. So I wanted to do something that touches on the absurdity of life, and I also wanted to explore some aspects of satire, unquote. It makes it a little harder to discern what it's supposed to be about, but it does, sound like Batmite's going to be an observer to a lot of DC stuff.
So wait, he's going to be DC's version of the Watcher?
Almost sounds like DC's version of us. Last up in DC comic news I have is something that's a little bit bizarre. There's a lot of stories that are floating around right now because there was a proposed alternate cover to an upcoming issue of Batgirl, number 41. A lot of their series are having Joker variants, and they created one for Batgirl. I don't know who exactly did it, and I'm sorry, the artist is Raphael Albuquerque. Don't ask me to spell that, please.
Albuquerque.
Here is the cover that he made up, and it was originally proposed, I think accepted as well, for Batgirl number 41. Take a look. Now, it's creepy, and it has a lot of implied history behind it. I mean, that's almost exactly how the Joker looked in The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
And she looks just terrified, and I think anybody would be if you're going to be held by a maniac in a revolver. Now, this cover has been pulled by the request of the artist in DC Comics. It was said originally that this was pulled due to outcry. Some people did not like the fact that this cover existed because they said it went against the grain of the current tone of Batgirl, which is more humorous lately. That's true. It is a more humorous book right now. It's not the dark and twisted one like most of the Bat books. What I found out in a subsequent article via the observation deck on IO9 was that it wasn't complaints against the book that got the artist to request to pull the cover. What happened was people who were complaining, or at least making their opinions known online, were getting counter-protests and some pretty violent and nasty rhetoric thrown at them. So the fanboys that were fighting to keep this up were causing so much acrimony and anger. That's what apparently caused this artist to pull the cover. Now, I've heard Eric Larson also talk about this cover, and he said that it wasn't any of that. He said it it was a proposed cover that was likely that was accepted, just but hadn't been put in production, although the cover should not have been shown to the populace at large. It should have been kept private behind doors while they made their own decisions. He thinks it doesn't have anything to do with any complaints. It was just a cover that wasn't gone through. However, Raphael Albuquerque, and I may have that story wrong because I was reading a couple subsequent articles about this whole thing, but Raphael Albuquerque did release a statement saying that his, quote, "My Batgirl variant cover artwork was designed to pay homage to a comic that I really admire and I know is a favorite of many readers. The Killing Joke is part of Batgirl's canon, and artistically, I couldn't avoid portraying the traumatic relationship between Barbara Gordon and the Joker. For me, it was just a creepy cover that brought up something from the character's past that I was able to interpret artistically. But it has become clear that for others, it's touched a very important nerve. I respect these opinions, and despite whether the discussion is right or wrong, no opinion should be discredited. My intention was never to hurt or upset anyone through my art. For that reason, I've recommended to DC that the variant cover be pulled. I'm incredibly pleased that DC Comics is listening to my concerns and will not be publishing the cover art in June as previously announced." Unquote.
Okay.
DC also released a statement that was very similar in tone, so it sounds like the subsequent stories I read may have been either misinterpreted or bullshit. Either one is potentially possible. Okay. However, I must say that I'm a little disappointed that people could cause such acrimony over a comic book cover, and that's not even indicative of what's in the book. It's a variant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact, and actually, I got to commend Raphael Albuquerque because, frankly, the cover, even though none of us are heavy DC readers, all of us recognize pretty fucking fast.
Yep.
He did his job. I mean, he implied the Killing Joke, and all of us pulled it out of there. And considering the history of the two characters, the cover is highly appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine if Batgirl actually got back into this position after coming all this way, learning to walk and fight again, and then getting caught by this asshole all over again. I don't know many people that are trained that wouldn't have some kind of level of breakdown.
Well, either she'll break down or go crazy.
Or go homicidal.
Yeah, homicidal.
So I got to give him credit. He made a very good cover, and I'm sad that people's arguments have caused it to be pulled down. I might not have bought it, but it's a good goddamn cover. Let's talk about a little bit of general comic news. The project that Marvel and DC don't have. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, their latest issue has caused some sorrow. They actually had a recent issue that came out last week. I think it's issue number 40. And they apparently used Bebop and Rocksteady to kill Donatello to the point where they split his shell.
Yep. Belly Sedge and everything else.
Yeah. There's a lot of upset people. There's a lot of people curious about how the Turtles are going to bounce back from that since everyone's known them as a quartet. I don't quite know how to take this because even if he's dead, it's a comic book.
Well, take this for instance, the original iteration of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Raphael died within, 3 issues?
I don't know. I don't read the comics. But, frankly...
That's just the history of the franchise.
The only characters that get revived more often than comic book characters are Super Saiyans. So I look at this and I think it's an interesting image, although I don't think this is going to be permanent.
Well, I don't even know necessarily that he did die.
Yeah.
It could just be a very severe beating.
Does anybody know on the last page who that marmot is? The white weasel or whatever the fuck that is?
I don't keep track.
I have no idea.
All I know is there is a hole in his shell, and we will know in the next issue whether he lives or dies.
There was a recent story of there was a recent story about this version of Bebop and Rocksteady listing them as the most badass versions of the characters ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they apparently walk around with melee weapons stuck in them, and they're still swinging at full force.
Well, they're actually threatening in this iteration.
Yeah. As far as Comic-Con goes, they've announced another waves of guests. They've announced Laura Innes, writer and artist of The Dreamer, A. Lee Martinez, author of Gil's All Fright Diner and The Automatic Detective, Ed Pisker, cartoonist on WYSIWYG and Hip Hop Family Tree, Chip Zdarsky, artist of Sex Criminals and writer of Howard the Duck and Kaptara, and Matt Fraction, writer of Sex Criminals, ODYC, and Hawkeye. All special guests, and including the ones we've previously talked about, they all get spotlight panels. So there will be panels featuring these individuals. Man, their guest list is actually looking pretty strong this year. However, there's one person who says he won't be at Comic-Con for the first time in about 3 years, as far as I know. George R.R. Martin is not going to Comic-Con.
Really?
Yeah. Martin's been there the last few years, and he's had multiple signings. At least last year, what I was aware of was he had multiple signings around the floor. He was there like every day. He also has one of the most popular panels and one of the longest Hall H lines that San Diego Comic-Con has ever seen. At least as far as Game of Thrones goes. Last night, not last night, back on March 16th, Martin took to his Not a Blog live journal to reveal that he's not attending Comic-Con this year. He mentions time constraints and the reason for missing this year's con, but the news isn't terribly surprising. Martin says that he's decided to forego Comic-Con because he's quote, got a book to write, unquote.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering.
They have been bitching at him to finish it too, so I'm...
Well, fans have been bitching at him, and we've said that his response to all fans talking about when's the next book coming out is, fuck you when I'm ready.
Which I'm cool with.
Yep. It's official, though. RiffTrax Sharknado 2 is happening live during July 9th, and there will be a theater near Comic-Con playing it on Thursday, July 9th. I may have to go see about that. That's in my wheelhouse entirely. Let me see. Yep. Remember we talked about the Conman Indiegogo?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion have been tweeting about Conman recently with some hopes of theirs. And a tweeter named Alexis Newman asked, do you guys have an official air date for the first episode of Conman? Alan Tudyk is the one running the Conman Twitter page, and he responded to her with, quote, not yet, but we hope to have some sort of premiere at SDCC, unquote.
That would be awesome.
That is going to be a long fucking line.
Yeah.
Worse than Hall H?
I don't think you do that in Hall H. I think you do that in the big ballroom, maybe like Ballroom 2 or something. But I think we're going to have to tag team on that particular line. That's going to be huge. Also in Comic-Con news, San Diego has agreed to start producing a study in regards to the convention center expansion plans. They've actually picked back up plans to expand the convention center by about 25%.
Oh, good.
They previously approved an expansion plan that was going to be paid for entirely by a hotel tax, but the hotel tax was found to be unconstitutional by a challenger. And the city agreed, so they didn't decide to fight it. They just pulled the plans. Now it looks like they're paying $90,000 for a study with JMI Realty, which owns the land nearby, where they're considering building a new 1,500-room hotel. So it looks like they're back on for trying to figure out how to build on this thing. I hope they work on that fast, because if Comic-Con stays in San Diego, I think that's to everyone's advantage, frankly. Let's see. It's also been announced that at WonderCon, La La Land Records revealed on Twitter they're bringing the soundtrack to the TV show of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe to WonderCon.
Nice.
You can stop by booth 1724 to be amazed at 80s cheese. Oh my god, do you remember that soundtrack? It was so bold and brash and so fucking repetitive.
I can't remember it.
I mean,
I don't think I want to.
When I first watched the show as a kid, the first couple times you hear that theme, it's awesome. Then, about 8 episodes in, when you hear that theme, you say, and the show's over. He wins, we're done. There's a new comic book coming out. I might have to check this out. They're calling it Shonen Battle Manga meets Sci-Fi. It's called Halogen. The story is being written by high fantasy writer Josh Tierney, and the artist is Afu Chan. The storyline is taking place on City Ship Q. A rebellious young woman named Rel is an outcast in her world due to her special ability to cast holograms. When rumors of the body of a long-dead god reappearing are circulating around City Ship, Rel is employed by the Halogen organization to locate it and bring it back.
Interesting.
This does sound like high-functioning anime, frankly.
Yeah.
Although it sounds cool. It's being put out by Boom Studios. There's a lot of independent books I should really read. Speaking of independent books, there was a Kickstarter not too long ago for a Tank Girl book. A brand new Tank Girl story. And as a result of that Kickstarter, the first issue comes out soon.
Nice.
It's going to be 21st Century Tank Girl, and it's going to be a 3-part miniseries. It's being done by the original British artist who brought it out in the first place. The Kickstarter ended up gaining over $350,000 at the time. God, it's been a break of 20 years since Tank Girl was a thing. Yeah.
Other than that movie that was, oh my god.
I liked it until I knew more about movies. Then I hated it. The last bit of general comic news I have, this is a bit of convention news kind of mixed in here. It's been announced that, well, Jesse is not going to like this announcement. The biggest European Transformers convention, Auto Assembly, has announced that 2015 is its final year.
Ooh.
Auto Assembly started back in 2000. Its first convention was held on October 22nd, 2000. And it had only 31 guests.
Whoa.
In the years that followed, Auto Assembly has ballooned, and the guest list of prior years has included David Kay, Gary Chalk, Scott McNeil, Townsend Coleman, Sumali Montano, Greg Berger, Dan Givelson, and a lot more. The reason for finishing it, according to the organization running Auto Assembly, is just they're faced with increasingly busy daily lives. They don't have time to run the convention anymore. So instead of compromising the quality of convention or turning it over to someone else, they plan on going out on a high note and just finishing it. The last Auto Assembly is taking place on August 21st through 23rd of this year. It's kind of sad that the only reason it's ending is just because people are busy.
Yeah.
But it's good that they're not letting it devolve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess if they couldn't find somebody reliable to take it over, it's better to, end it on a high note.
Well, maybe it's because they're European. They didn't do the American thing of sell it.
Yeah.
All right, from there we'll move into anime and Japan news. As anime nerds, we like to talk sometimes about the news that comes from across the Pacific. The first one is more of a techie piece of news. Japanese scientists have just beamed energy through the air as of last week.
Ooh.
Human-made satellites have been able to harness sun's energy as they hang in orbit. But the question is, can they accumulate that energy and beam it back to Earth? So far, nobody has a way to do that. But Japanese scientists have just done wireless energy transmission, according to phys.org. Researchers use microwaves to deliver 1.8 kilowatts of power through the air to a receiver 170 feet away.
Nice!
Now, 170 feet, not exactly a huge distance.
But they can work on it.
Right. That's a little over 50 yards. However, that does mean that the basis is there to start working on large-scale transmissions. I mean, could you imagine what would happen if we could set up, large solar accumulators on the moon, where there's no atmosphere to restrict the solar energy, and then beam that back?
Yes, I can.
That would help a lot. So, it's nice to know that they're making advancements. Now if they could just plug up the leaks in that goddamn fucking nuclear reactor. Jesse, Steve, are you fans of Yandere characters?
What now?
Are you fans of Yandere characters in animes?
What are they?
Oh, Yandere.
Yandere. Okay, they're the quietly homicidal ones.
Oh!
They can be cute but disturbing, yes.
Depends. Like Zero no Sakaima was a fun one.
I asked because there is...
Oh.
Okay, I asked because there is a new...
Oh, okay. Got wrong.
There's a newer game coming out called Yandere Simulator. It's a stealth game about an obsessed girl hell-bent on eliminating anyone who interacts with her beloved.
Yep, a Yandere. Yep.
Pass.
It doesn't sound interesting to me, that's for sure.
It's a creepy and weird plotline that includes you trying to slaughter people who get too close to your proposed boyfriend, and cleaning up the blood that they leave behind around school.
That tickles like my darker side, yes.
I'll be honest, it sounds like...
I will play it.
It sounds like a stealth game I've seen they came out with in the last couple of years. Kill him, hide the body.
Oh. Oh yeah, that was Solid Snake. Okay. Let's see. there's a group of Japanese organizations campaigning against TPP copyright provisions. The TPP is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They're a group of artists. There's a group of activists made up of artists, archivists, academics, and activists who have joined forces in Japan to call on negotiators to oppose requirements in the Trans-Pacific Partnership that will require their country and 5 of the other 11 nations negotiating this agreement to expand their copyright terms to match the United States' excessive length of copyright. The reason why they're fighting this so vehemently is because this version of copyright would make it questionable as to whether or not you could do things as simple as fan art or fanfics.
Yeah, U.S. copyright law is not...
It's complex and intractable.
And dated.
Those are all very good.
So this is... I mean, the Japanese, their main export is culture, and if you start stomping down on fan artists and writers, then you're really going to have a problem there. That means you'd have to go to the industry to produce new stories.
It just sounds like a horribly bad idea.
Agreed.
Yeah, the copyright rules in this country are just preternaturally fucked up. Alright, the next story I have in Anime Japan news is about the Dungeons & Dragons session that became a real-life phenomenon. Louis Packwood of Kotaku.com, he wrote about a D&D session that ended up taking on a life of its own as somebody was taking notes during it, and it became what's known as Record of the Lotus Wars.
Oh, okay.
It started out originally as a manga that was titled The Grey Witch, the first Lotus War novel. And Lotus Wars ended up becoming a mini anime series, but the funding was cut short, so they ended up writing in this very compact ending. I guess that would be the right term for it?
Yeah.
They later fleshed it out by, instead of rewriting this or redoing the series, they made a new TV series that kind of spliced into it at a certain point and continued the story as that was meant to go. It added a lot of characters. I guess you could argue that a lot of the fan purists didn't really take to the idea of these newer guys coming in and being the heroes of the story.
Yeah. It kind of sucked because I was so attached to Parn and all of them, but Spark did a good job of carrying on.
You know what? It was a good ending to the story. It was very well fleshed out. And actually, the story of what happened to the Berserker was so sad.
I know. Both times. Yeah, it wasn't...
Yeah. V, if you ever get a chance to look it up, and I say look it up because the original Record of the Lotus Wars has never had a DVD release. It was only VHS.
Huh.
I'm pretty sure that's not true, because I'm pretty sure we have it.
According to the story, the original anime series was released on VHS in the 1990s, but was never shown on TV or granted a DVD re-release. It fared slightly better in the US and Canada, where the DVD collection was released in the early 2000s.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I would seriously recommend you look it up, because it does feel a lot like a D&D session minus the bad jokes.
Well, you can always make those up yourself.
Well, it has a lot of interesting vistas, and I would argue that the character design of elves in this series has really affected every character design of elves that came after it.
Yeah.
They're all very similar to what started here with the characters of D-Lit and Piratus. But it started out with a group of characters that were the classic 6 characters of D&D. The elf, the cleric, the dwarf, the thief, the hero, and the mage.
Yep.
It might be something to look up in your spare time. There's a second live-action trailer that's been released for the adaptation of Parasite. I think it's called Kiseki in Japanese. It's a very bizarre story about a group of alien parasites that have come to Earth. They're taking over bodies, with the exception of one that has taken over the right hand of a man and has formed a more symbiotic relationship with him.
Just the right hand?
Yeah, although it's a very interesting piece of writing because the parasites have the ability to transmutate humans. In other words, every once in a while it will cause eyes to pop out of his hand so it can look at him. It can change his skin into blades and things like that.
Huh.
Interesting.
Sounds like a more modern Guyver.
Yeah, it's not bioarmor though. It's literally transforming humans into weapons. And it's very freaky. Apparently recent episodes may have had his fiancée killed.
Ooh.
And they're doing a live-action adaptation of this. This has to be full of CG, but I have not watched the anime because it seems a little too out there even for me. I'm a giant robot, Mark, not a monster person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of giant robots, there's a new trailer out for Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, remember the last clip we played that was in English and we all just unnaturally marked out over it? There's a new trailer. They actually have an English dub version if you want to see it.
Sure.
Let's go for
It's subtitled Artesia's Sorrow. Okay. I haven't actually looked at this myself yet. There it is. Good old sunrise.
What?
Mature.
No. Sometimes it doesn't load the video after the ad.
Oh.
Look at those feet. This is actually really good animation. These dudes remind me of like Robotech Destroids.
Yeah.
3 years have passed.
I have to sit down and watch this. This already looks awesome.
Yes.
Again by the Zombies' sinister plans.
So it's showing the evolution of the machines and
yeah, how Gundams were originally created. Why does that woman have a microphone stand between her legs as she's singing? It looks like she's gripping it like she's getting ready to slide down it and ask for dollar bills.
And there are 2 others who are also victims of the whims.
Oh, that's a brutal punch!
He
He didn't punch the woman, if anybody out there is wondering.
The fearsome Cyclops is born.
Their facial expressions are kind of funny.
Yeah, the mobile suits are pretty nifty, although watching them punch each other, I'm reminded of Robot Jocks.
Actually, the design of those things remind me of the those one units from Warhammer. Steve knows what I'm talking about.
I'm sure.
Yeah. They do reflect a little bit of the Space Marines armor.
This is all pretty cool, though. It's actually very nifty. Yeah, I'm going to sit down and watch that. I do have a live-action trailer that I do think we should look at, although I know it's not going to be a laugher. They've officially released a trailer for the live-action version of Attack on Titan.
Do we have to?
It should be looked at. It is a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that. This has tremendous fans, which are not us, but, you know, as we keep saying, gotta try it out and at least respect the fact that they're not hurting anybody. At least not real people. There you go. Looks like they showed this trailer as part of a TV variety show. So there's a couple clips of the anime to show a comparison, I imagine. I admit, this is not my type of show. This is just tragedy upon tragedy.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm watching TV, I want to be entertained for a few hours and forget the fact that I'm depressed.
Admittedly, the action is.
I almost thought that was an Ava.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. That is an Ava.
Okay, they are.
Oh, it's an example of the special effects.
So apparently they made a live-action Ava. All right, good.
I don't need to watch that either.
No. I don't know. I keep debating with myself whether or not to watch the new one, because I've heard so much good things about it.
Yeah, I think we have the actual trailer here a minute in.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the new Ava too, but I wasn't that great of a fan of the original, so I just haven't bothered. Wow. This is a much darker color palette than the anime for sure. Whoa. And now there it is again with the Attack on Titan theme behind us. It looks like they're breaking down a couple scenes here. That Titan does look menacing, but it doesn't look exactly as human as... It doesn't move terribly well with its joints, you know what I mean? I'm not quite sure what they're going for with that. It replays it a lot as they're discussing it. I'm almost glad about that because I get to take a good look at certain things. The people dressed up as the scout team and everything look really impressive, and they look like, you know, high quality cosplayers, which it is a compliment.
Yeah.
It's just that the Titan itself does not quite look real.
I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to address something like that and say, oh yeah, that looks totally real. We have no basis for that in real life, so it's always going to look a little fake.
I think the problem is, though, the anime set kind of a troubling bar, because that Mega Titan always looks like a person missing skin, basically, at least in the manga books and the animes. Portraying that in real life, even with CG, it's got to be difficult.
Yeah.
Last bit of anime in Japan news I have nearly made it into another section of news, and you'll understand why when I talk about it. Burger King Japan is releasing on April 1st, which is Whopper Day in Japan, a new fragrance. Yes, you can wear the fragrance known as Flame Grilled, released only in Japan.
Oh my.
Are you sure we're not on What the Fuck yet?
That's why I said this nearly came into another place. For 5,000 yen, you can buy a bottle of Flame Grilled.
So,
now,
about $5. Sounds about right.
It's supposedly coming out only in Japan. Fortunately, the fine print, 5,000 yen.
So about $50. Okay.
Yeah. Fortunately, the ad in the corner of the one of the ad for this product, it does seem to say something to the effect of "This is an imaginary product," which I am extremely gratified for. For two reasons. Number one, the word Whopper in English can also mean lie, and number two, Whopper Day is April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
As a writer on a Kotaku pointed out, none of the fine print seems to indicate that this is an imaginary product. And oh wait, it is not an imaginary product? Wow. I really hope this is not real, because it may be a bit far for an April Fool's joke, but seriously.
I want to smell like a hamburger.
Yeah, $50 to smell like a Whopper.
Yeah, let's take this to Biggest Loser.
You know what? You can smell like a Whopper after spending $15 and downing a bunch of burgers. So I don't know why you'd go this far. I really do hope this is a joke, because I don't know anybody that would want to smell like a Whopper, even the people that like to eat them. We'll move into nerd interest news. These are the nerdy news items that don't quite fit into the realm of comic books or comic book entertainment. The first one is relatively close. InfoThink is putting out a new desk lamp based on Big Hero 6.
Ooh.
V?
Yes?
I think you might want to own this.
Why?
Take a look at this Big Hero 6 lamp.
That is way too damn cute.
Oh, it's so cute!
It's an LED lamp designed in the shape of Baymax in his inflatable form, built with 5 built-in lighting effect modes, including brightness control and movable head and hands. Okay? It's an official Disney product. It has a fade mode, a smooth breathing mode, flash mode, multi-effects mode, soothing sleep mode, manual control of 4 brightness settings at 25, 50, 75, and 100%. Head and hands do move, environmentally friendly, and powered by USB. It is 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters by 110 millimeters.
I want this.
I want it.
No, there's one thing about it that is not listed in the technical details.
Price?
It's available for pre-order right now. It's already available for pre-order. It features a sleep setting that gradually powers the lamp down during your sleep cycle, so it effectively turns itself off when you are satisfied with your service.
Oh, God.
You can now get the pre-order right now through Brando.com. I'm clicking the link to take a look. This LED lamp is $49.
Really?
Yes. I might get one of these.
Yeah.
It's adorable. There is a man who spends way too much time with paper. According to Toyland, they're a subsect of Gizmodo. There is a man that built a Millennium Falcon out of paper.
Oh, okay.
Not full scale. Hold up. Okay. It is a smaller version, but take a look at this. This is made out of paper. 99% of it is, anyway. There's some plastic bits for windows and yards of fiber optics to make the lights.
Dude, that's cool.
That's crazy.
That's kind of awesome, actually.
The creator of this is a man named Bernard Zucchiel. Spent 4 years making this. He used reference photos of the Falcon he found online for the creation. And he's, he did all this out of paper.
Damn.
Now, make the Return of the Jedi Star Destroyer.
Now we just need it to rain now.
Yeah. There is a new bipedal robot that's been built by Dynamic Robots Labs, which I think is one of the things recently bought out by Google. It's called Atreus. It's a bipedal robot that has pretty good balance. People have been kicking at it. It will not fall down. And there's a small GIF of people throwing dodgeballs at it, and it still will not fall down. It's pretty impressive balance. I wonder what it's. I wonder if it's gyroscoped. Atreus stands for Assume the Robot is a Sphere. What?
That would be its balance mechanism. That's
okay. It's a nice build. It has a bunch of stickers on it talking about the different schools that have worked on it. But hey. Now, I'm going to give you guys a photo.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nothing dirty about it. It's a photo that was unnaturally clear in one aspect, and I want you to tell me what that aspect is. This came from the Defense Research and Development of Canada.
Oh, nice.
Is there two?
That is a very
explosions?
Interestingly shaped shockwave.
Steve's nailed it. They have an unnaturally clear photo of the shockwave from an explosion.
Yeah, but it looks like there's two of them.
Well, the shockwave itself is a very interesting shape.
I think that would have to do with the explosive compression. What was going on was they were working on an experimental proving ground for explosives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that the initial explosion in the shockwave probably compressed the secondary and created that upper wave you see there.
Yeah. So yeah, it is two explosions.
Not two explosions, just an explosion kind of funneling into itself. It might be an explosion combined with an implosion. You know, the first explosive shockwave kind of creates this conical effect and forces the energy upwards.
Well, if I'm looking at the display next to it, looks like that might have been what detonated.
Displayed next to it. I think the stuff barrel underneath it is what detonated. I don't see a barrel. It looks like
some kind of
I think that's
tower.
Storage containers. I see that. I just think that's part of the setup. It looks like this is eating up storage containers. The center of the explosion is far away from that. If you're going to test explosives, you don't want to be that close.
Well, I was assuming that was the step they did prior to detonation, but yeah, no, it looks like it's on top of a building, actually.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see it that clearly. Do you remember the Mars 100 competition?
Yeah.
The competition to find the first, I think it was half a dozen people that are going to colonize Mars.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there was somebody picked named Maggie Duckworth. She's been talking about being the first human being to cosplay on Mars.
Nice.
It turns out Miss Duckworth is already a cosplayer. That's just one of her hobbies. She says, quote, I've had a love of outer space and exploration since I was little. If I had to track it back to one source, I'd say that watching Star Trek The Next Generation with my parents in the 80s really made the cosmos come alive for me. And I wanted to get out there. That same drive is the one that pushed me into fantasy and science fiction, which led to my desire to cosplay and later become an electrical engineer. When I saw that Mars 1 was looking for applications for those looking to get out there and start colonizing other planets, I thought it would be an incredible chance to live an adventure that I've always wanted to be a part of, and one which I had spent my life inadvertently developing skills for, unquote.
Yeah, I really wish I'd been in a position to apply for that.
Wouldn't it be weird to just see that picture of like Hatsune Miku in a spacesuit on Mars?
I don't know, maybe she could go for one of these spacefaring shows. Or she could just be thinking about doing Star Trek.
She could be Marlene from Robotech. Let's see. I did not know that 50 years ago the first spacewalk nearly ended in a tragedy.
Really?
Yeah, according to Mika McKinnon on IO9, the first spacewalk was a Russian spacewalk, if you recall, from the Voshka 2 spacecraft. And at 11:32 and 54 seconds on March 18th, a cosmonaut named Belyaev opened the outer airlock, exposing Leonov to space. Just under 2 minutes later, Leonov floated free of the Voshka 2 spacecraft on a 5.35-meter tether. Between the hatches opening and closing again, Leonov spent just over 12 minutes in space.
Whoa.
He was in the midst of duty. Nobody knew what to expect on the first spacewalk, and medical reports record that Leonov's core body temperature jumped 1.8 degrees Celsius in just 20 minutes.
Wow.
It was pushing him towards heat stroke.
Wait, so he got hotter?
Yep.
Yes, his temperature went up 1.8 degrees centimeter. In other words, his suit either didn't have adequate ventilation or didn't have adequate shielding for the solar radiation, which is unfiltered out in space.
Mm-hmm.
He was described as floating in his spacesuit, but if you ask him in recent interviews, he said he sloshed around in his spacesuit with sweat.
Interesting.
Wow. I mean, I didn't know that things were that dire back then. Everyone talks about the first spacewalk as this kind of embarrassing moment in American history when the Russians got there first, and I don't think it was until recently anybody would have had an idea he nearly died out there from heat. Which is almost the ultimate irony, frankly. We talked a little bit earlier about Gundam being one of the first giant robots that really caught on in pop culture.
Uh-huh.
Well, James Whitbrook on IO9 came up with a list of the 10 greatest giant robots of all time.
I think I've seen this one already.
Well, stop me if you want me to read anything, because, obviously some of these we'll have heard of and care about, others we won't. Mm-hmm. Number 10 on the list is Gypsy Danger and the Jaegers from Pacific Rim in 2013.
Still haven't seen that.
I've seen it once. I don't have a desire to go back. I've been there. I'm kind of surprised they're making a second one, frankly.
They are?
Yes. They've already greenlit the sequel.
Okay.
Item number 9, I will have to stop and read because Steve won't let me go on. The Veritech fighters from Robotech in 1985.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Quote, first introduced in Robotech, well, technically Macross, the anime series that the American Robotech series was adapted from, the VTech mechs were some of the first transforming robots around. And the adaptation helped popularize giant robots in the West long before Gundam made it over in the mid-1990s.
And the inspiration for Transformers.
The Veritech had 3 forms: a fighter mode that was a souped-up jet plane that could operate in space as well as in atmosphere, a humanoid mecha form, and a weird halfway house version that was part walker, part VTOL jet. But then again, you can never have too many different kinds of giant mecha, unquote. Item number 8 on this list, the Megazord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1993.
Really? That beat the Veritechs?
Yeah, it made higher on the list. You want me to read it or just skip it?
Skip it.
There is one line at the end that does deserve reading, though.
What?
Quote, also, it carried a robot mastodon's head around as a shield. That's pretty badass, unquote. Robot number 7 is the Imperator-class Titan from Warhammer 40,000. That is a bizarre design. It looks like a hunchback carrying a castle.
Yeah, it always has that gothic element.
Yeah, should I read it or skip it?
Go ahead and skip it.
Okay. Item number 6, from 1984, Voltron.
None of those remakes, just the original.
The original, quote, so the Megazord was made up of robot dinosaurs. But what beats dinosaurs? Robot lions! Bring in Voltron, the giant robot form from 5 lion-shaped mechs, which essentially means Voltron was covered in lion heads. He even has lion heads for his hands. That's pretty fantastic. Even more fantastic, though, is that Voltron will sometimes fire all of the lion heads in an attack. Although Voltron shares some similarities with the Megazord, it ranks a bit higher because Voltron didn't just defend the Earth from threats, but the entire galaxy, and did so with ease. You do you, Voltron, unquote.
They can also fly.
Item number 5 on the list of the 10 greatest giant robots of all time, according to a writer on IO9, is the Evangelion units from Neon Genesis Evangelion from 1995.
Okay.
Now, this I will read because V will need some context since we keep referring to the show. Quote, the Avas, as they are known, perhaps blur the line between cyborg and robot more than any other entry on this list. They're filled with angel blood and have just as many organic parts as they did mechanical. Designed to fight the angels threatening Tokyo 3 and the world, the Ava units are piloted by orphan children through a psychic link and are immensely speedy and powerful. After all, they can throw a spear so hard they literally embed into the moon after slicing through their target. But, as ever with Evangelion, the giant mecha are just as weird and messed up as they are cool. Remember how I said they're piloted by orphans psychically? Well, that's enabled through the fact that the souls of said orphans' dead mothers are integrated into the Ava systems. Yes, unquote.
Yeah.
Right,
it was a
seriously
fucked
fucked
up series.
Yeah.
Not to mention that the LCL was basically the shit that they were breathing was essentially human.
It was the angel blood.
Yeah.
Let's see. The number 4 on this list is Mechagodzilla from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla in 1974.
Really?
Yeah, quote, how do you defeat the king of all kaiju? Why, make a robot version of him. Making his debut in the aptly titled Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Mechagodzilla was originally a creation of the evil simians who wanted to defeat Godzilla and take over Earth. Mechagodzilla was made out of space titanium and had a variety of weapons designed to take out the kaiju, including rocket-launching fingers, but Godzilla promptly cut his tirade short by ripping its head off. It's had various forms over the years. Godzilla had a penchant for destroying it repeatedly, but the original is still the best, unquote. You just think ripping the head off is kind of final.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 on
the new one.
Yeah. Number 3 on this list is The Iron Giant from The Iron Giant in 1999.
Oh, I like that movie.
I've never sat down and watched it. I've always heard it to be very sad.
It is sad at the end.
I like sad things. I should watch it.
You could watch more Adam Sandler films if you like sad things.
It's sad of a different nature.
Yeah.
Number 2 on the list of the best giant robots of all time, the Gundam RX-782 from Mobile Suit Gundam in 1979.
Yeah.
Quote, now this wouldn't be a giant robot list without a Gundam. And the first Gundam is the best of the best. The RX-782 was the star of the original anime series Mobile Suit Gundam, where it's piloted by Amuro Ray. Although there have been far crazier and more deadly Gundams since, the original Mobile Suit takes its place here because of the way it changed the game for giant robots as a genre in Japanese media. Gundam proved that giant robots could be serious machines of war rather than just the superhero starts of kids' cartoons, and RX-782 was a huge part of that. Almost every mecha on this list wouldn't be here without the badass that is Gundam RX-782, and for that, we are thankful, unquote.
Okay.
The number 1 best giant robot of all time, according to this list, I'm not even going to read the name, the year, or the series. I'm just going to go into the article because you guys will follow pretty fast. Quote, oh, you know he had to be here. For many people today, the Transformers still define their childhoods. Yeah. And Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots, stands tall as the icon of the series. He's had many forms over the years, both as a robot and some sort of vehicle, but usually his trusty truck. And he's had many weapons, too. But his voice was perhaps the greatest of all. Hearing a robot with the silky vocal cords of Peter Cullen as he cries, "Roll out," still send chills down the spines of Transformer fans today. Hell, the voice even managed to save the sharp, angular re-imaging of Optimus's design for the Michael Bay movies. That's how good it is. Like the Iron Giant, too, he's one of the few robots who could make us cry when he died, as he did in Transformers the movie, unquote.
I did not cry when he died when I first saw it, but I saw it like years after it got released.
I got very upset when they killed off all the Transformers before he died.
That was the odd part. I wasn't sad about Optimus Prime dying. I'm like, what about the other guys?
Yeah, I know. I was like, dude, you just completely skipped over Ratchet and freaking Ironhide, and I was so pissed about all of that.
I wish they finished some of the scenes they deleted. That whole thing about the rocket launcher attack on Devastator sounded incredible.
Or how about you went with the original idea for how Ultra Magnus got destroyed?
Yeah, that was cool, too. Although it was kind of worth it to hear the expanded cut and hear Spike yell, "Shit, what do we do now?" There is a new video come out. It's a concept video of Magic Leap. Google has invested $500 million into this project. Magic Leap is the first actual attempt that I know of at augmented reality. think of it as a virtual reality visor, but instead of a backdrop, it's a clear backdrop. The graphics of it are overlaid into your actual world. It's being worked on with apparently with Weta Workshop. The video itself was produced by Peter Jackson's special effects company, Weta Workshop. Would you like to see what the concept of AR is?
Sure. Okay.
The more I see about it, the more I wish it would occur, but it looks like something out of robotics notes, frankly. Just without a tablet in your hand. Instead, you wear this thing. Check it out. The only problem is, if it does half the things proposed in the video, you know there's a ton of people who would get no work done.
Cat moments.
Oh, wow.
Yes. The idea is that it is reality that sits on top of your own that allows you to access the internet and various functions.
Like it.
I mean, if it works, it's great, but look at what this guy's doing in his office. I mean, I wouldn't even want to do this at work, but you know I'd be looking at something.
Now you start playing Candy Crush with it.
Or even worse, looking at Miley Cyrus pictures.
You look at Miley Cyrus pictures?
Not willingly. Unfortunately, the internet won't let her go. That and Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith keep talking about her. The concept of the game is pretty nifty. Not quite what I would hope for, but could you imagine like a Sword Art Online style game with this stuff? Dude.
I like.
It's a nice concept. Now, can they make it work? Because VR has the advantage of having the screen. You know, augmented would require a screen through clear glasses, at the very least. It's a cool idea. I hope they make it work. It's also been announced that Microsoft is going to do away with Internet Explorer.
Heard about that.
Really? Hooray!
Yeah, they're working on a new project, a new browser called Project Spartan. They haven't come up with an official name for it, but they are looking to retire Internet Explorer finally.
Well, I know for a long time they were trying to replace it with like just Outlook, and they merged them together.
Yeah, well, they're acknowledging that Windows 10 is coming out soon, and Internet Explorer as a name kind of hurt their brand, so they're looking to redefine themselves. I can't say I'm sorry to see Internet Explorer go. It held up a lot of the porn I looked at, but it is way past its time.
It well deserved the nickname Internet Exploder.
Yeah. And last bit I have in nerd interest news. I may have to spend about $250 on something for Karen.
Oh.
No, there's a company called Warrior Creek. Their website is warrior-creek.com. They have come up with what they call Warrior Pack Purse. Okay? I know, it sounds ridiculous, but in taking a look at this thing, I think my wife would not only wear this, I think she would rock it. It's an interesting multi-facet purse that can be worn a number of different ways. I've sent you guys the link to the website that report on this, geekgirls.com. You see the first picture there of the woman in like 5 different positions?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's all the same product. You see the bag that they're all holding? That's all the same purse.
I want this. I want this now.
It has an expandable strap so it can be worn over the shoulder like a standard purse. It can be worn double hook, kind of like a gun holster. It can be worn as a single purse, or it can be strapped around the waist and the thigh, kind of like almost like a Naruto kunai pack, frankly.
Gun holster position that has me really interested, because I hate...
This is actually a cool product.
Yeah.
It is. It's expensive, though, because it is leather. It's an original product. It's $245 retail on warriorcreek.com. But I'm looking at it just thinking, my wife would find so many frickin' uses for this.
Honestly,
and
it's worth that money.
Yeah, it's a perfect convention pack, frankly. You can hold the entirety of your purse strapped to your hip.
Honestly, they can expand us, and make it, cheaper, more accessible.
Well, they can make it out of cheaper materials, but would it be as interesting? And you can also buy a multitude of different styles, and as you can see from the pictures here, it comes in both tan and black stylings, snakeskin stylings, basic leather. It comes with a different he gets different adornments with certain versions with extra chains, makes it more steampunky. This is a really impressive product, and it has a wallet on a chain strapped to it too.
Yep.
And, I mean, it may not be something I buy right away, but I think I know what I'm doing for Christmas.
Yeah, I really don't see purse snatchers taking this.
You could, but you'd have to come at them with a knife, frankly.
Yeah.
Because this is not easy to take off, it looks like, once it's on there, and that's the idea. I like it, though. It's an impressive design. We'll move on into our what the fuck news. This is the news that just makes us ask, what the fuck happened? And it happens more often than you think. I mean, it's the internet, after all.
Whopper cologne?
Well, like I said, that came really close. I'm still having trouble believing that's not imaginary. This last week, there was an Australian news anchor named Natasha Belling. Okay? She decided to wear an ensemble at work. And she wore it on screen. The jacket, unfortunately, got more attention than she did.
Oh, boy.
Now that that's said, that's literally the entirety of the story, and all I can do is show you an image of what she wore on this particular day. Take a look.
It's a green jacket.
Yes, it is a green jacket. When people pointed this out, I thought originally it was the plunging neckline that was a problem, but that turned out that wasn't what people were pointing at.
It's the shape of that neckline.
Yes, it is.
I can totally see it now that I'm... Wow.
Yeah.
But that
those
takes
of you that
a certain kind of dirty mind to go
Oh, I get it. It took me a minute.
It didn't take much of a dirty mind because I was just examining the neckline going, why are people having a problem with this? And then I looked up at her head and back down to her neck. For those of you that don't have the picture readily available, her jacket brings new meaning to the phrase dickhead. Her neckline does look like a balls and penis.
That's just...
It's an unfortunate wardrobe choice.
Yeah, that's a...
I doubt that's what the designer was ever going for, but unfortunately, that's what he's got.
Yeah. I like the color.
Accidental fail, maybe?
I don't know. Let's see. Now, this is one of those what the fucks. It's just a sad one. There's a man named Abraham Zemandagahu. He's a black man who was accused of stealing an iPad. He spent 6 weeks in jail over it. Okay, the person who accused him later found the iPad, so Mr. Zemandagahu was released. However, the 6 weeks he spent in jail were the worst of his life, and no, it wasn't because he was beat up. No, it wasn't because he was raped. It was because he couldn't communicate with his guards. He's deaf.
Oh.
He knows some sign language, but it's a derivative sign language of the country he's from. He's an immigrant. He's from Ethiopia. He's a U.S. citizen born in Ethiopia, and his English skills are a little lackluster, as you can imagine.
That sucks.
He said through an interpreter in an interview at his lawyer's office, quote, "I felt like I was losing my mind. I thought Virginia would give me an interpreter, and they said no. That's why I felt lost," unquote. That has got to be just living hell. Because you can't even explain yourself very well at that point. No, I didn't steal anything. I never saw it. But between his English skills and his sign language skills, that probably didn't get very well communicated. This happened because he's a transient as well. He's homeless. On February 2nd, 2014, he was looking for a warm place to sleep at Reagan International Airport. And officers from the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority arrested him on a complaint he'd stolen another man's iPad. He requested an ASL interpreter to explain what was happening, but instead was taken to Arlington Jail for processing. So he never got a chance to explain himself. He said the booking process was bewildering, with someone speaking on a video screen and he wasn't understanding what was happening. So obviously he couldn't read the lips well enough on the screen to figure out what the fuck. He was booked, he underwent medical screening, and he was given forms to sign. But he didn't know what they were and refused to sign him, so they stuck a needle in his arm without explaining what was occurring. He later learned it was a tuberculosis test, to which he suffered a bad reaction to. He wasn't even arraigned until February 4th. And at that point, a court interpreter was present. It was then that he understood the charges.
Yeah, that's a pretty big failure.
Yeah. When he was offered a chance to communicate, he was offered a TTY device that types in English. Still had trouble understanding. I mean, this whole thing was fucked up from top to bottom. He spent 6 weeks probably unable to even tell the guy, could I get a book? Could I take a piss? There are apparently guards who are trained in sign language, but again, his English skills suck. He's now suing the police for wrongful detention, and hopefully, I hope he gets a payout. This is too messed up.
Yeah. If he doesn't, that's just criminal.
Yeah. Okay. There is a man who was chased 400 yards by a giant tortoise.
What?
Say what now?
A man was chased 400 yards by a giant tortoise.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
He was. A National Geographic explorer, Paul Rose, he was recently in the Seychelles, which, as you know, has a lot of relatively rare species in it.
Uh-huh.
He poked his head into a bush because he heard some noises. What he found was a giant tortoise fucking another giant tortoise.
Well, that's what happens when you interrupt two people out in the wild.
Yeah, the male giant tortoise slowly swung its head around and apparently took umbrage to it because it got off the female and started walking as fast as it could in his direction. The network has described what they witnessed as the, quote, slowest chase ever seen. Apparently, after Rose even backed off, it kept coming, and it kept following him for 400 yards. So once the explorer Rose was a safe distance away, the tortoise turned around and bid at what most people consider for a tortoise anyway, a hasty retreat back towards the bushes.
I think it's went back to finish the job.
What's going through the tortoise's mind? It takes me half a day to do this, and you're fucking interrupting me? And then when it finally chases him 400 yards, you think as it turned around, it was muttering, bitch better be there when I get back. That's horrible. I'm a wrestling fan, and often when you look on the screen, you see wrestling fans sometimes get into costume as their favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
There was a group of 10 guys who went to a Monday Night Raw taping in Des Moines, Iowa. They showed up to their ringside seats dressed up as some of their favorite wrestlers of all time: The Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, Jake the Snake Roberts, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, IRS, Nikolai Volkov, Sergeant Slaughter, and the Big Boss Man.
Wow.
When they arrived ringside, they were asked to remove the costumes.
What?
According to one person who was part of this group of 10, Chris Lawfer, who was dressed as the Ultimate Warrior, quote, "The gentleman who spoke to us about removing our costumes identified himself as a manager who'd been doing this for 15 years, unquote. They were told to remove the outfits because it was too distracting. They were ringside on the camera side."
Oh.
Actually, it just says they were ringside. It doesn't say which side of the camera they were on, but just because they were too distracting. According to Laffer, quote, "It sounds cliche and corny, but I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. We all are. You have to swallow your pride to do so, but we really enjoy going to WWE shows in our ridiculous outfits," unquote. Now, these weren't a bunch of boisterous guys. Lawfrey describes them all as ranging in age from 28 to 40, college-educated professionals. He says they weren't acting rowdy or trying to bring undue attention. They were just trying to have a good time. They did remove the outfits, and they were given some T-shirts for the modern set of wrestlers.
That's disappointing.
I felt kind of foul because no matter what's going on outside the ring, you're not going to get that distracted to watch the cronies dressed up as skinny versions of wrestlers.
Yeah. It's disappointing.
Yeah, and especially since they were given free T-shirts. However, as Lawfer said, a 2XL Uso T-shirt might not have been my first choice, unquote.
Mm.
And it's a little disappointing because of two things. One, they shelled out cash for official WWE merchandise as part of their costumes originally. They'd already bought WWE gear to make their costumes. And number two, for those ringside seats, they paid a combined total of more than $1,000.
Jeez.
You would have to talk to me, frankly, and explain why I should take off my shit when I paid all this money. And if you say I can't do it, fine, give me my money back. They were given each an apology by the WWE later when they found out about it, and they offered the group of 10 a total of 9 free tickets to an upcoming show. The fuck?
That's not sufficient.
No. No.
Not unless you pay my way there.
Well, again, they gave them 9 free tickets to an upcoming show, but there's 10 of them. Oh, man. Unfortunately, this is one of 2 fucked up wrestling stories I have this week. There's a man who suffered fatal injury in the ring.
Oh, no.
Oh, I heard about this.
It's not in the U.S., though. It's something you... Well, it's combination. There is a lucha wrestler called Hijo de Perro Aguayo, which roughly translates to son of the dog. His real name is Pedro Aguayo Ramirez. What happened was earlier this week, he was wrestling in a show during the first appearance of a well-known superstar, Rey Mysterio Jr., in a tag team match. Now, anybody that's watched wrestling for the last few years knows that Mysterio has a move called the 619. But it's not... The setup to that move is he usually drop-kicks somebody in the back, which forces him into the ropes. Then he swings off the ropes and kicks him in the head. I think we're familiar with this.
No.
I guess. I haven't watched wrestling.
I mean, I
in
understand
years.
what you're describing, but no, I haven't wrestled Rey Mysterio in a long time.
All right. Now, the original report said it was a 619 that may have done him in. However, later reports revealed that the setup move, the dropkick to the back, may have caused cervical damage that knocked him out.
Oh.
In other words, he suffered severe whiplash, it appears. So he was prone on the ropes, took the move, but didn't move, and nobody knew what was wrong with him, including his partner in the ring, who pulled him off the ropes so they could finish the match for the next 45 seconds. After the dropkick to the back, he apparently was immobile. After the 619, still didn't move. After the match was done, a few officials came out and they discovered he wasn't responding to anything. They put him on a backboard and put a breathing device in his mouth, took him to a Tijuana hospital where he died approximately 3 hours later at 1 in the morning.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's horrible. He was 35 years old. I don't know much about his family. It doesn't list that here, but I mean, even for a wrestler, he was young.
Yeah.
And he took a move that was pretty much textbook in Mysterio's playbook. I mean, it sounds like a bad joke, but I bet you right now Vince McMahon is in his office. You know, Rey Mysterio just left his company going, "Phew, dodged a bullet there." Yeah. It's fucked up. How would you like to see how Texas police dispose of 20,000 pounds of fireworks?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they blow it up. Bomb squad.
The Midland Police Department posted a video to YouTube explaining that Odessa, Lubbock, and Amarillo bomb squads were present to assist with a fireworks disposal. They seized 20,000 pounds of fireworks in Glasscock County, Texas. Would you like to see how this went off?
Yes.
I will give you one hint right now. It's fucking loud.
I will turn it down.
Take the headset off?
You might want to. There it is. 48 seconds of what sounds like a war zone.
Pretty.
Look at that plume of smoke.
It is pretty.
And broad daylight, too.
I know you got to dispose of fireworks, but is your response really just toss it all in a box and light it?
Quickest way.
Well, you know what? Explosions are cool.
This isn't an explosion, though. This is a fountain of magnesium.
Dude, it's producing
Close
so
enough.
much smoke, it's actually blocking out the sun.
Yep, now you can't see the approach of the super devil in his jar of marmalade.
It's almost like seeing an approaching tornado. Oh, wow. Almost looks like
that was just
black.
wild. I know. It's just wild, isn't it? Now, I gotta ask. Have you ever heard the put down, why don't you just eat a bag of dicks?
Yeah.
Yeah, from really crude people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, now you can do that literally.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Dicks by Mail is a website that lets you anonymously send a bag of dicks to anyone for $15.99. If you pay that money, Dicks by Mail will send a 5-ounce bag of gummy penis-shaped candy to your foe with a note attached exclaiming, "Eat a bag of dicks."
That's great.
There's actually an image here that I have to send you that's off of Pixable. Take a look at this. It actually is a copy of it. It comes in a manila envelope with no return address, gummy candies in a bag, and a big note that says, "Eat a bag of dicks."
One of those anonymous kidnapping type notes. Basically, wow.
So, if you ever get so mad that you tell somebody to eat a bag of dicks, you can do it literally.
Don't tell them. Show them.
Yes. Canada is kind of a funny place lately.
What do they do this time? What superstar did they shunt to us?
Wow, they actually removed the photo. I may have to see if I can find it. The photo, the original photo attached to the story was removed to protect the identity of the woman. Somebody managed to snap a photo as they was walking through a Montreal subway station.
Mm-hmm.
There was a woman lying on the ground. That wasn't necessarily newsworthy. What was newsworthy was the fact that she was holding a man's head between her legs.
What?
Somebody apparently decided they couldn't wait home to get at the pussy.
Oh, God.
For a while, there were photos circulating of an actual woman in a Montreal subway station getting herself eaten out by a man.
I see.
This happened in the Place des Arts metro station.
Okay. That's gross.
It's not just gross, it's bizarre. I mean, I have been in that place with both, my wife and like prior girlfriends where it's just, I don't think I can wait for this. But at the same time, I did wait for this. The subway station would not be first pick of, hey, baby.
Not,
you know what I mean?
Not in the least.
As a matter of fact, I did a little bit of digging as we spoke. I found the picture.
Oh, boy.
There it is. It's nice to see the black bar over her eyes to protect her identity. However, you might be able to find moles in this picture.
She doesn't look very comfortable.
No, they're up against a retaining wall that I think is hanging over where the subway usually runs underneath that part of the station. I mean, I don't know if it's comfortable. It actually looks more like she turned towards whoever took this camera shot and just said, "The fuck are you doing?"
Private moment, go away.
Yeah, to which I would respond with, "The fuck are you doing?" So, Jesus Christ, people. Last thing I have is a list my wife found on dailyhit.com. That's Daily Hit with 2 eyes. It is a list of 10 things every woman wants to say they're a gynecologist.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay. It's relatively short. Item number 1. Quote, "Can we skip the weigh-in? I'm bloated 20 days out of every month. I don't need 3 glaring numbers reminding me to skip Burger King on the way home. Can we do a visual estimation and call it good? She looks larger than last time, but it's not quite ready for a Richard Simmons intervention. Works for me." Item number 2. Quote, "Where's the panty coat rack? Just once, I'd love to enter an examination room and see a place to store/hang my coat and other clothing while being poked and prodded and examined. I'm tired of hiding my panties under my jeans that are rolled into a wad and stuck on a chair that 30 other naked women have already sat in that day," unquote.
That's a good point.
I mean, when I read this originally, I looked at this and said, a lot of these are fair, just cynical. Item number 3, quote, "The last day of my last period? You're so funny. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast. The date of my last period? Approximately a month. So you better hurry up and get this examination done days ago," unquote.
Right.
Item number 4, quote, "Can we kill the fluorescent lights? Know what destroys a girl's self-esteem faster than J-Lo walking into a room? Fluorescent motherfucking lighting. There's a minor spotlight on your forehead. Is more necessary?" Unquote. Item number 5. That's just an image of some guy sitting between your legs with that damn lamp on his head, just going, that looks interesting. Item number 5, quote, do you have something a little bigger than a tissue paper doily that I can cover with? I'm not 2. I weigh more than 50 pounds, and I'm definitely taller than 3 feet 6 inches. I require an actual full-size blanket or throw, and preferably one not made from gift bag filling. Could I borrow that fabric room divider? Unquote. For those of you that have not been keeping up, this is from dailyhit.com, a list of 10 things every woman wishes she could say to her gynecologist. Item number 6, quote, if I could see the straps, I'd definitely put my ankles in there. You're lying on your back without pillows, trying to focus on anything but what's happening down south when dear old doc says, could you put your ankles in the stirrups? Seriously, dude? I just got comfortable, found an interesting piece of torn ceiling plaster to focus on. It's shaped like Florida, and you're asking me to find the straps. Pamper a girl. Put her ankles in there for her. It will feel like a day at the spa, unquote. Am I reading this correctly? Because I'm worried my male voice might be skewing this song.
It sounds fine to me.
Maybe I should have sent this to V to read.
Next time.
You sure? There's 4 more. You could read them.
No, I'm good. You started a pattern. Continue.
Okay. Item number 7. Quote, yes, I can slide down more, but honestly, I don't want my ass to land on your feet. Positioning yourself on a gynecological examination table is like landing a Boeing 747 at a small jetport. The clearance is limited, and you have to inch your way to near disaster. There's also the moment of feeling like a total idiot when you ask, is that far enough? Too far, unquote. Item number 8, quote, the fuck? That's cold! From his or her hands to the stretch a hoo-ha nutcracker-looking contraption, every damn thing used down there feels like it just came out of a freezer. Can we get a warming tray, perhaps? And a glass of wine?
It's so true.
Item number 9 starts off cynical. Quote, you've tunneled to China through my vagina. Yeah, it hurts a little. I understand that doctors are obligated to ask these types of questions. I totally get that empathy is part of the job. But we're all adults. Let's assume that it hurts and ask on a scale of 1 to 10 how much. 1 being the headache my toddler gives me after screaming for 20 minutes, and 10 being just after my husband stubs his toe, unquote. And item number 10 on 10 things every woman wishes she could say to her gynecologist. Quote, excuse me, where are my parting gifts? Hello, swag bag? Do I get anything after enduring that type of poking? A visit to the dentist scores us a new toothbrush. The eye doctor sends us packing with free contact lenses. What do we get after a visit to the gynecologist? Big fat nothing. Even a George Clooney sticker would be nice. Or a discount coupon for laser hair removal, unquote.
They have a point. I never thought about that.
Bit, unfortunately.
I don't know. After a prostate exam, I usually just want to get the fuck out. No, don't give me anything. You already gave me too much. I'm gone.
I think a glass of wine might be appropriate in that situation.
No, it would have to be something harder than wine. And I'd take it before the exam.
A little bit of Jack Daniels.
Hammer to the head.
I was about to say, actually, you've taken too much of Jack Daniels. Let's go somewhere else. The discussion this week was about a comic series that I grew up in from 1992 called Gen-13. It is hard to come up with a short synopsis other than the fact that the government decided to experiment on a special forces team and try to see what could happen if they tried to give them superpowers. The experiments did not go terribly well. And a new generation...
The fact that they did 11 before that?
Yeah. A new generation of government security forces decided to check and see what happened to the progeny of these particular soldiers. Hunted down their kids from all over the world. And when I say kids, I mean in the multiple, because most of these guys have been in hiding for quite some time. And that leads us to Gen-13. And I gotta admit, my initial read-through, I think the series holds up well. It's just a little heavy on the melodrama dialogue.
Yeah, it's dated dialogue and art-wise, but it's not
too terrible.
Yeah, no, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's not irredeemable like Wetworks was.
Oh.
Now the art, I think I kind of give a pass on for two reasons. One, J. Scott Campbell, the guy who did this, is one of my favorite artists ever.
Mm-hmm.
And two, after talking to him at last Comic-Con, I found out that Gen 13 was his start in comic books.
Really?
This is where he began. I told him I loved your work in Gen 13. He looked at me and said, "Oh, you've been there since the beginning."
Nice.
I found it kind of interesting. When I was reading through the 1 through 5, in number 4 at the back of the book, it actually had, after all the comments that fans sent in and so forth, he basically bashed Wizard, the comic magazine.
Yeah,
and
this
put
was
at the bottom, Jeff Scott Campbell, who will never, ever be on the Wizard top 10 list. Ever. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, going, I don't think you were right.
He might have made it to some of their subsequent lists, but he did kind of have a point, because 1992, I remember that was the beginning of Wizard's decline as a comic magazine.
Yeah.
But going back to the story itself, the character designs aren't half bad. They actually hold up pretty damn well.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'd say they're stripped down. They're not complicated.
Right.
The most complicated costume...
Go.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I can easily identify different characters as opposed to what Wetworks did.
Yeah, I'd say out of all of them, the most complicated one was the villainous Bliss, and that's because half of what she wore was like lingerie-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of the artwork, there were two things that stuck out that would be my current complaints, and two things that Campbell seems to have addressed in his later work. One, a lot of his characters come out lanky. They have like long arms and legs, like basketball style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like no waist.
Yeah, but that's comics in general, unfortunately. Item number 2, when he makes his women look evil, I should say, he really focuses in on like toothy and gummy grins.
Yeah.
Like Joker.
Like Joker, exactly.
They get really toothy, and I'm just wondering, is there like a coat hanger shoved in there?
The one thing that really stood out to me was proportioning, as far as like, okay, Fairchild just transformed. I think it was the beginning of issue 3, where
that would be. Oh, I was about to say it'd be late in issue 1 when she transformed.
No, in issue 3. So she just got done. Wakes up, goes back to rescue the team, and she's standing there with this scavenged gun off of one of the keepers. And,
yeah.
I mean, she's like 7 foot something at this point.
Oh, that's late in issue 2. That's like the last panels on issue 2.
Okay, well, I think it's the beginning of issue 3 when she's actually getting ready to
get that pinup pose.
And she gets that pinup pose, and she's standing there with this gun, and it's got the taped together ammo clips and so forth.
Yeah, at the end of issue 2, that's it. Yeah.
And this gun has got to be about half
5
her
feet
size.
Yeah.
And she's 7 feet tall.
Well,
these keepers and the black razors and so forth are not small guys. And those guns in their hands do not look that big.
I understand where you're coming from, and I know that post-transformation, Fairchild is about 5'11". However, in his defense, a lot of early Campbell work, his female characters were all leg.
Yeah.
Her torso is like a third of her height, if that.
But again, I mean, this gun was just enormous. It literally basically told me, yeah, she has to be that strong, or she couldn't lift that thing. I don't know what the hell's going on with the rest of these guys.
The sad thing is, she ended up using that thing as a club.
Well, to be honest, it was probably meant to be used that way.
I'm looking at the panel near the end of page 2 where she's holding this thing up. There's a little bit of a perspective issue, I think, because as I look at this gun from the butt up to the barrel, it almost looks like the gun is curving somehow.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it was just one thing that just kind of stood out to me. I was enjoying the art style wasn't, throwing me off really bad. I mean, her costume with the little thigh strap on it that has no actual purpose, was just like, okay, yeah, but again, it's it's a comic design. You're going.
Well, it's it's a 90s comic design.
Exactly.
The French cut bathing suit stuff was all the rage in the 90s.
Yes. So, and then, they threw Rainmaker in one as well. And I think...
Well, not in these issues. This was her original outfit. She wore a full bodysuit back then.
Right. But, the art wasn't horrible. I was liking it a hell of a lot more than I was Wetworks. He actually used color. But the dialogue was pretty distracting at times.
Yeah. Actually, V, I want to ask your perspective. What did you think of the character design in this mini?
It was kind of seemed like a bit of a caricature at points, especially for characters like Grunge, who his face is like, what is that supposed to look like in real life?
His face did throw me off a bit too. I think it was just his face was so broad, which I think was due to the musculature and everything, but yet he's Asian descent, and I'm just not used to seeing those types of features combined on a face that broad.
Yeah, the character design of Grunge is full of contradictions. He's half or full Asian, long hair, stubbly beard, which, a lot of Asian men I've met have real trouble growing beards. Then he's broad in shoulder and stature.
Yeah.
And then he's a skater. It's like... It's almost like Puck from Alpha Flight grew hair and then decided to grab a skateboard.
And his hair.
The odd irony is, in later issues and storylines, Grunge turns out to be one of the most powerful members on this squad.
Truly.
He starts out as the weakest.
And he's always a bit of a jackass. But the moment that they revealed that he actually had, a photographic memory not used properly as per normal, but...
Yeah, he's busy remembering every time he's seen Fairchild's ass in that outfit.
No, he got assigned to the same college class that Fairchild did and immediately knew the answer to the professor's question. And Fairchild's just looking at him like, the fuck? And he's like, oh yeah, I've got a photographic memory. I flipped through your book.
But it's his metamorphic powers that really just kind of stood out. This is a guy that withstood gunshots. He was nearly cut in half by doors, and he ended up forming around and through the doors. There's a subsequent story in the reboot version where he actually touched a machine and took on its properties to disintegrate another human being.
Oh, wow.
So his powers developed superbly later on.
And he's the only one that I know of that was in Archie Comics.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a crossover. I think I still have that sitting in my room somewhere.
Well, Gen 13 has some really bizarre crossovers because during its initial run, it was an extremely popular series to the point where they had crossovers with Generation X with the X-Men's training class in the 90s, and they met Superman.
Nice.
Wow.
So that tells you something about the cultural impact they had in the day. Nowadays, I don't think a lot of comic book fans would really be aware of this crew.
Yeah,
I never heard of them.
Other than Fairchild making an appearance in Superboy, I don't even think they've done anything with the rest of the Gen 13 characters.
I think one or two may have shown up later.
Grifter wasn't Gen 13.
No.
Well, sorry, he was
a Wildcat.
Image. Yeah, Image.
However, they did have an impact back in the 90s to the point where there was supposed to be a series of small animated movies. The only one that ever came out was a videotape in the UK.
They did have a cartoon or something like that.
Yeah, they did.
That's what it was. It was an animated feature. It was supposed to be an animated series of features. They only put out the one, and it only made a UK release that retold part of the story.
Yeah. Wildcat's got a Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah, that lasted a season before everyone knew how terrible that was. But the highlight of this mini for me was issue 3. Because it was a combination of a jailbreak with most of the members of Gen 13, Fairchild trying to break in to free them, and then there was the random addition of an image monster called Pit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a combination of the Hulk and I'd say the xenomorph from Alien.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pit always struck me as kind of interesting in attitude. I remember reading the first issue of his book when a couple of hunters were following a deer where he was hiding in the woods.
Yes.
Then they swung their rifle around and ended up pointing it right at his navel, then look up and see this thing just towering over them. He grabs the double-barrel rifle out of his hands, splits the barrels, wraps them around the guy's neck, starts walking away, and says over his shoulder, "You can run and scream in terror now."
Which he proceeded to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him.
Pitt had an interesting story of his own because he was a breakaway from this alien warlord who tried to help the last member of another race survive, this being of energy and light. And it tried to survive by hiding in his skull. That's the secondary voice you find throughout the issue.
Ah.
So he's literally talking to a voice no one else can hear.
No, other people could hear it if the thing wanted to.
Oh, if it projected anyway.
Yeah.
In general, it didn't do that. It was hiding.
Right.
Well,
it occasionally hid in the boy he was palling around with too. It's this boy he imprinted on.
Yeah, Timmy.
Well, I can see why
who I
didn't
sometimes
last
got
comic
confused
though.
with the one from Cyberforce.
Yeah, I can see why this one why Pitt had a little trouble sustaining between editorial issues, and then the fact that he's basically just a biker alien.
Yeah, because that's never popular.
Hey, that went over well in certain respects, but I mean, when you come second, you're just going to be called the copycat.
True.
And he did come second. Lobo was first.
Yep. I will be honest. Yeah, as much as I did enjoy the Pitt character and it's his exploits, I thought it kind of took away from developing the existing cast.
Yeah.
What, of Gen 13?
Yeah.
Because actually, I thought he was a major addition because his purpose to me was twofold: to be a mixer in this whole situation, make it worse than it could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, when you consider that Pitt is the Hulk of Image Comics, he was the giant unstoppable force.
You need something that challenges Fairchild, I guess.
Well, not challenge him. You show that Fairchild can go toe-to-toe with this thing. You're not taking Pitt and establishing his dominance. You're establishing Fairchild as a challenger.
Yeah.
Which this book did in spades.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene where they're fighting through the floors of the complex and just dropping through them like they're tissue paper.
Yeah. Again, I did enjoy it. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
It's just, the dialogue is what really got me. Is it felt rushed and too much exposition.
Yeah.
Well, again, it was the storytelling of the time, and if you think about it, comic books were going through kind of a transitionary period. Marvel and DC just lost a serious amount of creators who formed this new company and started telling their own stories, which they've been trying to sell to the big two, but just kept saying no. And then we're also leaving the 80s, which is, you remember, the 70s and 80s, heavy on exposition boxes.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I'm not talking about exposition boxes. I'm not talking about exposition.
No, wait, because the 80s was all about exposition boxes. The 70s was all about the explaining thought bubble exposition.
Yeah.
The 90s, there was a large period where they really tried to get away from exposition and rather just had the characters interact, which is why this book is so dialogue heavy. We're in the midst of that transition to where you get to modern comic writing where there's moderate exposition and not as much needless dialogue re-explaining what you're staring at.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is the transition because now, without the exposition, they're talking more. It's not exposition so much as just really explaining what's going through their head at that moment. Which, again, it's too much, but for the era it came from, it was indicative of the average. And, I think issue 3 is also when Campbell starts to settle into his character designs a bit. They're not quite as lanky, and they start to settle down to large degrees. It seems like he finally started to get a hang on the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that continued in issue 4, and issue 4 was about as action-heavy as it gets.
Pretty much, yep.
Oh. What was
it?
I don't know, something I was talking to Steve about. The one thing I found really distracting happened when at the beginning of issue 2 is like, read issue 1, saw where it ended, and issue 2 is like, what the hell happened? Did we just do a time jump?
Right? Yeah, that was really jarring. I didn't like that. I was like, also everyone seemed to have a really good grasp of their powers, like really, really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's more because it was a miniseries. Wetworks went through the same thing where it was just kind of like, okay, here's the setting, now we're going to jump forward. And that was kind of weird.
Did that series form. They didn't have a setup mini like this one did.
Well, and then also the fact that like all of a sudden they just threw Rainmaker in, no real tie to the team as of the first issue. I don't know. She always kind of struck me as the odd one out in a way.
Yeah.
I did do some reading later on, and Rainmaker was purposefully put in as part. She was always planned to be part of the team. The reason why she got introduced, as you saw, just kind of suddenly, was to be an example that there were other kids beyond just the core characters that were already in this complex. They just hadn't met her yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a decent idea, frankly. It does show that the whole thing was expanded, and it was further implied when, obviously, Ivana Bayul took off with the extra Frozen ones.
Right.
So it was just an attempt to show that they didn't just select these 4 kids and hammer on them. There was a bunch of people there they were working on already. I do admit that the pace of the mini is rather fast, and I don't like how perfect the setup is. You know, immediately after escaping from all this, they have a benefactor that understands the people they're supposed to escape from better than they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynn's actually flipping like that, too. To me, seems very...
contrived?
Well, out of character.
I didn't think he flipped. I thought this was his setup, because after all, he was Gen 12. You know, he would know better than anybody how much it sucks to be a guinea pig.
Right, but the fact that he played loyal company man while the rest of the team went into hiding makes it a little bit awkward.
Yeah. But it's too perfect. They have a great benefactor who has funding in a new house and intelligence ties. And then, as V said, they all got a hang of their powers super fast for a bunch of people who just learned they had them like 8 hours ago at best.
Yeah.
Yep.
Admittedly, Fairchild is very simple. But
Yeah.
Freefall, is a...
Well,
all the ones that are
Fairchild's-
like controlled, those were way too fast. Fairchild's made pretty much sense because it's just, you know.
I would actually argue hers probably makes the least sense because now something as simple as grasping something would annihilate it.
Well, not to mention the fact
I'm giving
that
it a pass.
size growth would have majorly thrown off her sense of balance and everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The others, I mean, Freefall especially, got the handle of microgravity super quick. And I say micro because her powers affected a gravity field. It's not like she inverted the poles or anything weird like that. The only one who really should have understood what they were doing beforehand was Rainmaker. She was already being used as a weather goddess out on her reservation. You know, in retrospect, the character comes dangerously close to an X-Men ripoff.
Yeah, in a way.
What was her name?
Storm.
Really? Oh, I'm thinking I'm going totally different direction with that.
Wow. Okay. Didn't think there was another direction.
Well, I went with the ethnicity as opposed to the power.
So you were thinking Moon, whatever her name was.
Yeah.
Moonstar?
Moonstar.
Yeah, Moonstar.
The other thing that's a little bit jarring, just reading these 5 issues back to back, is the difference in color styles. It looks like in the first issue, it looks like the last days of like dot printing, and then by the 3rd issue, all of a sudden the colors are very gradiated. It looks like somebody took CG to it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was a funding issue, and all of a sudden they had some capital, and they were like, okay, now we can really do a good job.
Do it for real.
I can only make a couple of preliminary guesses, and for all I know, it could be dead wrong. But I have an idea that Gen 13, if it wasn't Campbell's idea, was Jim Lee's idea. He probably had this concept for a while. And considering Jim Lee's name is on all the covers, I'll guess it's part of Lee's Wildstorm stuff. You know, his original designs, I should say. My best guess, though, is that he had a concept for this team for a while, but didn't quite figure out how it fit into Wildstorm, which is why he did the mini first. He was probably trying to figure out if it would fit into his imprint, if people would keep buying it. You know, teen books have always been a hard sell. If you don't think that's true, just think about the fact that there's been like 4 or 5 volumes of Teen Titans comics. They've been restarting that perennially, trying to find the right mix. And then you have a book with less characters, but definitely one no one's ever heard of before, and you're trying to convince people to buy it. That's a tough sell.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing why the pacing was so fast is you got to establish each of the characters' personality, quirks, and whatnot.
Yeah, and this was the era of comics where people were buying everything. However, people were only buying known quantities because of that stupid story that said that comic books appreciate faster than stocks.
Yeah.
Well,
Nearly ended up killing the market.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would have to take these 4 characters and make it very clear very fast who they are, what they can do, and see if you can, make them buy more than one issue. That's probably also why Campbell got stuck on this book, because his versions of women, even lanky, bodacious is the best word I could put for it. They're around in all the places you think they ought to be.
Did you have any issues with any of the characters?
Me personally?
Yeah. I mean, from this miniseries, as they're presented.
Not from the miniseries. It was one of those things that, as I was reading comics at a young age, I understood the placement of everybody, and I did get why Rainmaker showed up seemingly out of nowhere. A couple subsequent issues helped flesh that out a little better. If I had any misgivings about the series on a whole, that would be that out of all 5 of them, Rainmaker turned out to be boring as dirt.
Yeah. That's why I meant she always seemed kind of the odd man out. Even the revealing the fact that she was a lesbian was just kind of seemed like it was just kind of tacked
when
on.
Did that happen?
Later on in the series, not in the
Yeah, actually in issue 2 of the regular series, I think Freefall was discussing men with Rainmaker, and she just kind of revealed to her, I have no idea what you're talking about. Not my thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, from what I read in the 5-issue, because I have no other context that like you guys have, I felt Burnout was least interesting, despite the fact he proved to be very powerful initially.
He turned out to be very interesting later on. It's just they really focused on... That was the other really kind of weakness of this mini, was that all 5 characters kind of started as base character archetypes, and Burnout was the silent brooding one at the time.
Mm-hmm.
After the regular series started, his character lightened up tremendously to the point where he was just more like your average slacking rocker.
Yeah. Including walking around with the guitar on the college campus and all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. He stopped doing that long hair swoop thing and just got more of a regular, not crew cut, just spike hair. And it was later revealed that of all the Gen 12 members, he's Lynch's son.
Yep.
Oh.
He was the one that Lynch was looking for.
This is why Lynch was...
Yeah.
Yeah, Lynch was... I forgot about that. That was Lynch's primary motivation for infiltrating the Gen 13 project and trying to rescue the kids. He was looking for his own child. He had no idea who it was.
Yeah, because Fairchild's father and a couple of the other ended up taking his kid into hiding away from him because they didn't trust Lynch because he was staying with I.O.
Yeah. He thought for a while it was... I want to say he thought it was... he thought it was Threshold. He thought Callahan kidnapped him and just adopted him, basically.
Right.
But he turned out to be wrong in that respect. I forget how exactly they found out they were father and son, but I do remember that they are.
And Freefall and Fairchild are half-sisters.
Half-sisters, yeah.
That was why they had
father.
that weird psychic link at the beginning.
That was another thing about early comics. Even when we were teenagers, that was one of those things that was painfully obvious, and you just waited for them to actually say it.
Yeah.
It did create some interesting drama later on, though, when Freefall found out that Fairchild was her sister, because she said it wasn't fair. She finally finds out she has a sister, and it's the person with all the brains and all the looks, and her boyfriend keeps staring at her butt, and it's just horrible.
That was pretty well done teen drama at that point, though.
Actually, in retrospect, later on in the series, I think Freefall was probably turned out to be the most well-rounded character of the crew. And I don't mean that as far as an emotional standpoint. I mean, she had a full set of emotional factors. She had a decent, backstory and things that happened to her. She probably turned out to be the most well-rounded character produced in the series.
Yeah. Fairchild always had the stick up her butt because she was the leader and had to take care of everybody.
Yeah, but she was also the paragon, the super strong one,
Yeah.
so everybody knew what she was going to develop, pretty much going in. There was that short period where she lost her powers, but that wasn't much character growth because she didn't spend much time before she just said, I got to figure out a way to get that back.
Yeah.
Grunge always turned out to be interesting. Yeah, God, we're kind of getting off subject here, and it's been long. I would say that the series has a couple of yes with a but, or no with an if. But overall, it's not a bad series to revisit.
No. It was far less damaging to my childhood than Wetworks.
Well, we thank you for putting down the rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, it's like I said, I originally wanted to say Youngblood because it's Liefeld, and like maybe I'm giving him a bad shrift for his art style. But then as I started reading, I'm just like, oh God, they'd kill me if I made them read this.
I don't know, but at the same time, the one thing I did like about Youngblood is some of the powers that they came up with.
Yeah. You know, Youngblood was ahead of its time, frankly, and I don't mean powers. I mean the fact that the premise of Youngblood was a government-sanctioned super team that was treated like celebrities. They were trying to create a media profile around them. And this came out in like 1991, 1992. The thing is, if we had superpower people today, I think that's almost exactly what they try to do with them.
Yeah.
Reality show.
So I think Youngblood was ahead of its time, frankly.
Yeah.
God, we should cut this short because we're taking forever here. But I would say I'd recommend it to fans looking for something a bit older, and the value of the comics didn't hold up, so you can get a lot of these books cheap today.
Mm.
You know, and I don't know about the mini per se, but I would almost recommend the regular series because, as I said, they do pretty well in character growth throughout most of it. And actually, you know what? Actually, that gives me an idea for the next show we do after WonderCon.
Oh,
okay.
This book spawned a spin-off.
Oh, what was the spin-off?
Deviate.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that was an interesting book.
Yeah, in issue 5, as Oksana Bayul is getting away, she mentioned the ones that she froze, you know, the test subjects that she wanted to leave with.
Mm-hmm.
To let Jesse and V know, she unfroze them and formed her own team of mercenaries.
That makes sense.
So, instead of a Papa Bear figure like John Lynch, they have an absolute vicious woman with Threshold and Bliss by her side, training these kids and telling them that they're going to be superheroes, when in fact she's using them as a private army.
Yep. And they had some seriously fucked up individuals. Copycat, for one.
Yeah,
that poor girl.
I think that'd be a great thing to look into because it's the other side of this coin.
Yeah.
Does Deviate hold up as well as Gen 13 does?
It was from a little bit later on, too. His art style had firmed up. Was J. Scott Campbell actually doing the art?
Campbell didn't do that.
That's what I was thinking.
That was somebody, I don't even remember who did that, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. No, it would be interesting to read. I did not get as heavily into Deviate. I had already kind of stopped reading comics at that point. I do remember that I have the Seven Sins variant covers for that, though.
Yeah, you know, my memories of it were, there was a period where I thought Deviate was much stronger of a book than Gen 13, so it's probably worth revisiting.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if I'm right. Okay, so when we get back together in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yep.
3, yeah.
2 weeks, Steve and I are at WonderCon, and V's still off partying or doing whatever girls do.
Still unpacking if she was me.
Yeah, I'm still unpacking.
Yeah, we've been here for 2 years, Steve?
Yeah, you never told us if you opened the package we sent you.
Oh, yes, I did. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Was it something you could have wanted, or we weren't sure?
No, I like posters. Right. Good choice.
Now, if we can find a poster of John Hiddleston's Loki, you might be really happy.
Should be cleaning something. Okay, so I say Steve and I will record at WonderCon. That's 2 weeks from now, but in 3 weeks we'll get back together and we'll discuss the first, we'll say 5 issues of Deviate.
Sounds good.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again in 3 weeks. Have a great weekend. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And V.
Don't jerk and drive. Have a great one.
Whopper Cologne.
Wouldn't that be terrible if our sign out is just random shit that makes us laugh?